Wait, close this. Alright, there we go. This. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Early morning maintenance. It's been a while since I did one of these. Alright. As usual, I'll be starting with the Darkling Beetles maintenance. Oh, yeah. Hope everyone's been doing well. Hope everyone's had a good few months. Spring is here, at least here in Idaho, and pretty nice. Warm weather coming back. Been able to go out collecting a couple times already. Actually, next Sunday I'll be going out again with some local friends to look around, see what we can find. But yeah, spring weather means better ship. Well, I mean, I can ship and I've been receiving and shipping stuff all throughout winter, but it being warmer does make it easier and easier to get stuff from further away, you know what I mean. So that's been great. Hoping to get a lot of cool new species this year. Already started out pretty strong. I got a good package the other day with some new roach species for the U.S. hobby. What did I get? I got Decoralamper fulgensioi, because those, tried getting them from a different source last year, and they came in kind of sickly, and these ones seem to be a bit healthier. Hopefully I'll do better with them this time. What else? We got a new species of Deropeltis that's never been in the U.S. hobby. Deropeltis species, big. There is locality information. I think they're from somewhere in Kenya. There is more specific locality information on the strain. I just don't have it committed to memory. But those are cool. I will not be breeding those though. I generally don't do that well with Deropeltis, so I will want to keep them in the future, but for right now I'm going to be sending them off to my friend Brandon Maines because he rules with Deropeltis. The reason we have Deropeltis Masai Mara in the hobby right now is because of him, largely because of him, so yeah, I'm sending him these, and he should do well with them. The adults basically just look like giant, like larger species Masai Mara, big black velvety roaches, but the nymphs are more colorful. I'm gonna have to get some pictures of them before I send them off to Brandon. But yeah, so those are cool. New Deropeltis for the U.S. hobby. What else? Got Eublabrus Posticus French Guiana. Finally, those have been in the European hobby for years, but no one in the U.S. has had them. But now I finally got a group of nymphs of those, so those should be cool. They're just like really dark, differently patterned Eublabrus Posticus is all they are. Just another color form of that species, so it's really cool to have those. I also got a locality strain of normal Eupolyphagus sinensis from Peking, China. That is the locality, so those are neat. I already have normal Eupolyphagus, the old hobby stock Eupolyphagus sinensis, and the wide-eyed strain descended from the old hobby stock. And now I have a locality stock as well, so that's really cool. The specific species I'm hoping to find. My dice there. Okay. We'll answer Riceland's question first. Specific species I'm hoping to find when I go collecting. Probably I want more Ammopomatus species. Jerusalem crickets. I found 4 last time I went out. So I want to find some more. Give them another good old college try. Might as well. They're in my area. I know how to find them pretty reliably now. So, yeah. I'll be going for more of those. Might collect some more Scolopendra if I can. We have some blue tiger centipedes here. and a species of Scolopendra that is, you could call them polymorpha right now, but they're not going to be polymorpha for much longer, not the Idaho line at least, so waiting on some research papers to be released on that, but, so right now I'm just calling them Scolopendra species, you know, but, yeah, so those will be, I've been finding those. I got a decent breeding group, I think. I got 9. So I'm trying to keep those communally. And it seems to be, I mean, I had 2 set up in a communal, pretty small container. And they did well for like 3 months. So I went out, collected some more, put them in a big tub. We'll see what happens. So far, it seems like they're all doing fine together. So I don't think I'll need more than what I already have to get them breeding, but if I find more, I might pick up a couple more. But mainly looking for Amypelmatus and then more darkling, new darkling beetles. There's still quite a few species of darklings in my area that I don't have right now that I would like to culture. So yeah, so just a little bit of everything. And then to answer the other question about my Dicedera, those are doing well. It's hard to keep track. I need to move them to a larger enclosure, and it's hard to keep track of how many there are in there. I think I started with like 5. I've seen like 2 or 3 of them pretty consistently, like the larger ones. But even then, it's really hard to find them because they make little silken chambers, I guess you would say, partially underground, usually completely covered in substrate. So it's pretty hard to find the dang things. But as far as I can tell, they're doing well. They're messing up all the isopods they throw in there. I've been feeding them Armadillidium maculatum and Proporcelio vulcaneus, and some Compsodies too. And they seem to be eating everything I throw in there. Maybe a little bit of a preference for the Armadillidium. Those seem to go the quickest, but they will eat basically anything. Yeah, I've made sure they're topped off on food, so they should be fine. Hopefully not cannibalizing too much. But yeah, so those guys are doing well. Hopefully I can get a communal colony breeding of those as well. And in case you guys haven't noticed, I'm pretty interested in predators you can keep communally. Stuff that needs to be separated, not so much. I wouldn't even be trying to keep Jerusalem crickets right now, to be honest, if it weren't for the fact that, like, I want to do it once. I just want to breed at least one species once. I've tried so many times. I can just do it once successfully, and that I can add that, you know, feather to my cap and just, I don't have to do it anymore. But I want to do it once, because some other people have succeeded, have had some more success than I have, either on purpose or by accident. So I just want to do it once. Damn it. But yeah. These guys, these Aloides spinipes ventricosa from Oren. There's the camera. I got a pair of these big old boys, and they are making a ton of larvae, so that's good. Last time I got a female from Kyle that was supposedly mated, and she laid a lot of eggs, but none of the eggs ever hatched. So I think she was just infertile. So this pair, though, I mean, it's a pair. It's a male and a female. So the female's definitely fertilized, and she is making a ton of larvae. So that's really good. So now I have both lines of Aloides spinipes. Hopefully the larvae aren't that difficult to pupate compared to Macrua. Because Aloides spinipes and Macrua are like ridiculously easy to breed for large Aloides. But supposedly Oren's stock of the Aloides spinipes ventricosa is a bit more difficult to get to survive pupation. Alright, I feel like there were chats. They seem to have changed the formatting of the live a little bit. Also wanting to collect Jerusalem crickets when it warms up a bit. Any tips? Okay. My experience, at least, okay, and take this with a grain of salt because this is for Idaho, for southwestern Idaho. Jerusalem crickets, there are a lot of different species in the U.S. A lot of them occupy different niches. But in my experience, I've had the most luck finding Amopelmatis and the Scolopendra species. In scrubland habitats, preferably a bit of a distance away from more urbanized areas. And first of all, I never seem to find them later in the summer. It's always in the spring that I find mine. And I find them generally most often underneath somewhat small rocks. I've not had a lot of luck flipping larger rocks in my area. It seems like the bigger the rock, the less of a chance is going to be like a lot of invertebrates hiding underneath it, other than ants. And more of a chance of there being like maybe vertebrates underneath, a lot of rodent burrows and stuff. But a lot of times it's just straight dirt with nothing underneath it. And that might be because the dirt in this area is pretty rocky, pretty dense. So a lot of invertebrates can't really dig that far down into it, period. So I think that might be part of the issue. So the only time there usually is something underneath a rock is when there's a rodent burrow that's partially, underneath it. And then there might be some stuff in that rodent burrow section. But in general, rocks about like yay big at the largest. I just spend time flipping a lot of those over. And generally, usually I find at least, a centipede, a few beetles, or one or two Amopelmatis right underneath. And that's basically the easiest way to find them. I would do it during the day as well, because if you go out during night, they're going to be wandering around, right? Whereas during the day, they will be hiding underneath the rocks. You could lay oat trails out at night if you wanted to catch them while they're wandering, but again, it's not that likely compared to just flipping rocks during the day. They're going to be hiding. And again, the smaller rocks tend to have the best gains versus effort. So you can spend a couple minutes trying to flip over a huge, enormous rock and find nothing underneath it. And just in 1 second flip over a small rock and find more underneath it. That's been my experience in my area. It might be different in other areas, Probably does depend on like the soil density and stuff. But here in Idaho, which is supposed to be somewhat similar to at least some areas in like California and Utah, Nevada, the surrounding states. Yeah, that has been my experience. So, I know some of the coastal species, some dune-dwelling species. You're gonna find those more in like loose sand, perhaps at the base of like bushes and grasses and stuff, where like the roots have accumulated some detritus. But for just kind of the more generic species, just flipping rocks and boards and stuff on the ground that are at least partially buried seems to be the easiest way to find them consistently. So that is those are my tips and tricks. Subscribe for more information. I seem to have trouble breeding my D. maculatus. Oh, Dermistes. Okay. Okay, so what are you feeding them? A lot of Dermistes species will not breed on just plain dog food, like the larvae will eat it, but the adults generally won't lay unless there's something a bit more meaty. So you can either put vertebrate meat or large dead blabberid roaches like hissers or blabris, something like meaty. They'll lay eggs pretty readily on those as well. But yeah, they kind of need something a bit more fleshy to induce oviposition consistently. Some Dermistes might also need a diapause before breeding, so depending on where you caught yours and what time you caught them and where you caught them, they might need a diapause to induce breeding. But if you just started catching them like now in spring, they should have already had that. So yeah, I would assume probably need something more meaty to oviposit on. From Utah, so yeah, so it should work. Yeah, Yeah, do something a bit more meaty maybe. They don't really like very high humidity either. But completely bone dry again. They can handle bone dry conditions, but they don't generally lay on things that are bone dry. So it helps to have like even moist dog food would probably maybe work to help them oviposit a bit more. But yeah, just putting things like meat and dog food and shit. Not dog food. Dead roaches. Big dead roaches. Should get them going. I need to re-lubricate this thing. It's not pumping well. Yeah, and just make sure with Dermestes, their enclosures can kind of stink, but if they don't have good airflow, they can gas themselves pretty quickly. Or the rotten food you put in there gases them pretty quickly. So I have learned the hard way. They do like their ventilation, but again, need some slightly like damp foods to breed on. The Dermestes lardarius I have that are doing pretty well, they were breeding in my friend's big old Eurycotis floridana colony. The colony was so large that there were always like dead roaches in there, and they were just going to town in there. And it was very humid enclosure, almost like wet substrate. So, yeah. But yeah, I've heard reports that Dermestes will only lay eggs on vertebrate meat, and that's just not the case. They just need something meaty in general. So even just large blabbered roaches seem to work perfectly fine. But yeah, not really heard of anyone breeding maculatus. Mostly Lardarius and Ader. So if you get those going, I would be interested potentially in trading for some, because I like me my Dermestids. What else? Oh, I was talking about cool roaches I just got from a trade that are new to the U.S. What else did I get? So I got the Corlampra, Darapeltis, new Darapeltis, U. polyphagus sinensis from Peking, China, U. glabrus from French Guiana. I also got a species that was labeled as Ectopidae species Wanagzri, Papua New Guinea. It's the locality, but they're not ectopids. They in fact look to be a Tagalobata species, but not Tagalobata Okinawa. They actually look like a new Tagalobata species for the hobby, because the males, the adults, again, they come in both sexes, winged and fully winged and Microraptorids, which is really weird. Seems to be a unique thing for Tagalobata, but the patterning is a little different compared to the Okinawa Tagalobata that we have, and the coloration of the species Okinawa, the winged adults, and I guess just for this example, the winged adults have clear margins around their pronotums, but these new ones from Papua New Guinea do not. They have their pronotums are fully colored all the way to the margins, and the pronotums also seem to be a little flatter. The species Okinawa seem to have a little bit of like a bump in the middle of their pronotum. So all in all, it does appear to be a different species, but very clearly looks to be the same genus. And again, you have those both fully winged adults and Microraptorus adults, and it does not seem to be sex-linked. So, interesting and nice. I love Tagalobata species Okinawa, so it's awesome to have another species in that genus from Papua New Guinea, so that's cool. So I expect those will do well. What else? I got Hebardina ugandana again. God, none of us in the U.S. have been able to breed those. I'm trying them again, but with as large a group as I started with, I'm probably going to send some to Kyle at Roach Crossing, since I think he's like the only big roach breeder here in the U.S. who has not got the opportunity to work with them. So maybe he'll have luck, but it's a big maybe, because I don't know why those things seem to breed like pests for Europeans, but here in the U.S. we've not been able to get them breeding. And it's just a fairly unassuming, medium-sized blatted. They look just like a typical roachy roach, but no, nothing. We've not been able to get them to breed in the U.S. for some reason. It feels like it should not be that difficult. Also got Hyperichnota species Venezuela. They call them Hyperichnota reflexa in the European hobby, but they are not reflexa at all. As far as I'm aware, true Hyperichnota reflexa have never been in the hobby. But so this species is called Hyperichnota reflexa Venezuela in Europe, but it's not reflexa, so I'm calling them Hyperichnota species Venezuela. It's not immediately clear what Hyperichnota species they are. They're probably either represent a new range extension for Hyperichnota ledomorpha, which we have a strain of in the U.S., hobby from Panama, or an undescribed species of Hyperichnota. One of the two. So, I mean, either way, kind of cool to have those. So, I think from some anecdotal evidence, though, I had a friend who kept both of them, and he said they looked to be different species in person. So, the ledomorpha from Panama and the species Venezuela. So, probably an undescribed species of Hyperichnota. But I got a good group of those. Again, I have not done well with the Hyperichnota, Luciormedica, Hermetica, a lot of the South to Central American blabrids, the burrowing ones. Just not had a lot of luck with those, and quite frankly, a lot of U.S. keepers have struggled with them a bit in recent years, which is kind of strange. But Tyrandal is someone who has done very well with those. Tyrandal of Tie-Dye Exotics. So I will definitely be sending him the bulk of my Hyperichnota Reflexa group, just so I know he will probably be able to breed them. We'll get him established here. If I fail, I can get more from him, and he can distribute them to other U.S. breeders as well. You see a pattern here of me sending things I don't do that well with to other people, just to make sure they get established here, because that's what's most important. And then I guess the last thing I got was the what is it? Nocticola species Vienna Zoo, which is another strain of Nocticola parthenogenetic, because those are the only ones we get in the U.S. hobby. Looks basically identical to the species Malaysia and the species University Park, Florida. And I've never been able to confirm whether the Vienna Zoo line is actually just the Malaysia line that got donated to the Vienna Zoo, and then hobbyists got them back out of the Vienna Zoo and are now labeling them as something different. I don't know if that's the case or not. I will say though, they do look a little bit larger and a little bit paler than my species Malaysia. So it might be another species. It might be a different species than the species Malaysia. It might be something new for the U.S. hobby, but I don't know. And I got a fairly small group. Again, Nocticola are pretty fragile, so these ones are like a week, a little over, about exactly a week to be honest, in transit. So, and the packaging was fine, but it was just a little loose, so quite a few were smashed in the process of getting to me. But again, it's parthenogenetic line. There's about maybe 10 healthy ones, so I should have no issue getting a colony started. But yeah, I will wait to see. Obviously, I can't really confirm whether they are different until we have genetic analysis done. Same with the species Malaysia versus the species University Park, Florida. But to me, they look a little different, so we'll see. Eventually, we'll get all three genetically analyzed and figure out which ones. Penestia angustipennis. I have Penestia angustipennis from Sabah, Malaysia, the gold-winged form specifically, and Penestia angustipennis cognata from Cambodia. So yeah, and yes, I have pretty great experiences with both. They're super easy. Just keep them on a wood-based substrate and keep them humid. and like not just humid, but like moist. Like they like it pretty wet, pretty damp. And that's it. They're not really sensitive about temperature, I found. They're not really sensitive about ventilation. I would recommend less ventilation just because then you have to water them less. Because drying out can be fatal to them. I also feed them like dog food and apples regularly. That will greatly speed up growth versus just keeping them on only feeding them wood, you know. One of my friends, actually, Brandon Maines, pointed out that he threw his I sent him a group. He has the Panacea angustipennis cognata Laos as his primary cognata strain that he keeps, but I sent him a group of the Cambodias as well. They look identical, but he wanted more to stock for a reptile show that he vended. They didn't sell though at the show, so he kept them, and he's had them in I think a quart deli cup, filled half with the substrate I sent him with, and half just coconut fiber, and they've turned it all to frass, and they've been breeding in this pretty disgusting cup for uh, like a year, and he just found a bunch of babies in there the other day, and all he's been feeding them is dog food and apples. So there's pretty substantial evidence, and I'm going to actually test it out myself. Uh, that you might actually be able to, at least Penestia and Angustipennis cognata, you might be able to just keep them on coconut fiber and just feed them normal orchards, and they might actually do fine. They might not actually need wood. Other Penistinae, like Salgania species and Caudelia species, I definitely think they require wood. Some Penestia species probably do as well. But Penestia and Angustipennis cognata is so dang hardy, those might not actually require wood in their diet. So that would be pretty neat. We'll find out. I'm gonna probably set some up in an experimental enclosure soon, and we'll just see what happens to them. But that would make culturing those really easy. Again, though, not really applicable for probably most Penestinae, but at least some of the more hardy ones might actually be able to be kept on like literally any substrate, no wood required. Alright, someone's in. I need to get some in the future, Pleco. Well, Pleco with P, you definitely should. They are very, very, very easy and very cool and pretty. The nymphs are very prettily patterned, in my opinion. And the adults just look really cool and primitive. Martina, hey, just came in to say hi. You need to run some. Okay. Well, have luck at Chinese class, Martino. Hopefully, it goes smoothly. I know you've been kind of dreading that, so hopefully it'll go smoothly and easy. Hopefully you did your studies, did your homework. But, yeah. You guys should check out Martino's blog, The Wild Martin. I forget if it's, I think it might just be thewildmartin.com, but there might be, maybe it's .net or something, I forget. It's a good site though. This is his blog. It's got amazing photography skills, Martino. Like, such good pictures of some really cool roaches. He's working with some really nice Chinese native species right now. He's been posting to his blog more lately. And yeah, it's really, really cool stuff on his website. I would definitely recommend checking him out. Yeah, I think that's it for new species of roaches this week. I'm hoping I have some more stuff in transit to me. We'll see in like a week or two whether they arrive safely. I'm not going to jinx anything by saying anything about what species in particular I'm hoping to get, but just a couple species, but both will be new for the US hobby as well. So, yeah. The gears are turning, the deals are being made. I'm trying to get a decent amount of new roaches into the US hobby this year. Kyle in his streams has been saying that the roach keepers have been eating like kings these past few years. We've gotten a lot of really, really nice species in the hobby, and I would have to agree. So I'm going to keep that ball rolling. Nothing I've imported thus far has been like particularly stunning, but still, even just more variety of like the more roachy looking roaches that we can keep in the hobby, I think is pretty cool to have. Not everything has to be super flashy, colorful, iridescent, you know. It's just nice to have some new basic species to work with. Some stuff with potential feeder potential as well. You know, that's always nice to have. People are always looking for new feeders. And, yeah. I would argue, though, the decor lamprey are really pretty. They're slept on here in the US hobby, but they're very pretty. I hope I can get those going. Yeah. What else? What else? Oh, I got leeches. I haven't posted about them on my blog yet, but I did post a YouTube video the other day. And I've been talking on social media about them. Got them from Adierro. Adelbert Yarrow. I think they go by Adierro on social media. But, oh man, they're so cute. I've fed 2 of them myself. That's why I'm wearing this bandage. One bit me here. I wanted him to bite my legs, but in the process of picking them up, one bit me on my finger, and this cut has already stopped bleeding. You probably can't. It's just that little red dot right there. You can't see it, but it's in a little Y shape because their mouths are like Y shaped, so they make a Y shaped incision when they bite you. So it's really cool. Leech bites are actually called, the technical term for a leech bite the market leaves behind is a phlebotomy. And phlebotomy is also the name for the study of blood. And it's funny because the first phlebotomists, people who study blood, literally all they did was put leeches on people and just bloodlet. So, I don't know, it's pretty cool facts. But I have my friend Brandon Maines, his wife is a phlebotomist, and he has leeches too, so I don't know, he and I both thought that was a pretty neat fact. But, little leech bites are called phlebotomies. But yeah, so the species of leech I have, though, is Hirudinella manalensis, I believe is how it's pronounced. And it is the Asian buffalo leech, also called the Asian medicinal leech. They get big, they're tiny right now. Obviously, I got unfed, captive bred hatchlings, but they will get to be, if I keep them right, they will get to be a foot or longer in length when fully mature. They get huge, absolutely enormous for a leech. So those are cool. And yeah, obviously I am feeding them myself with my own blood. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I like them. They're cute. I've been wanting some for years. And finally got them. So, yeah, they're cute. They're so cute. When they're feeding, it's so neat, too. Because they get, like, covered in slime, right, as they're feeding on you. But it's not slime that they're cheating. They're literally just excreting the excess water from the blood that they're sucking from you. Then they excrete that through their skin. It passes through their skin so that their guts aren't just full of excess fluid. You know, what they want is like the blood cells and the actual nutrients and stuff in your blood. But all that excess water, they just release out of their skin as they're feeding on you. So it does 2 things. 1, it prevents them from overfeeding on just fluid so they can get more nutrients. And 2, keeps them moist throughout the whole procedure. Because they dry out pretty quickly when they're out of water. So they need to be moist, and so they do it themselves by sucking your blood and getting rid of the excess water that way. So it's really cool to see. They're just so efficient, such efficient little creatures. But yeah, they're really neat. I've wanted leeches for a while now, and I'm glad to finally have some. So hopefully they'll do well for me, get huge, and I can eventually breed them. And I would like to, I don't know why it seems like the screen keeps going like dark for some reason. I don't know why that is, by the way. But what setup do I have for them? Very simple, basic. They do require dechlorinated water, so I have some water dechlorinator. I just mix that in with water as needed. They're literally just in a tub with a little bit of ventilation, obviously, pokes holes small enough that they can't escape from. And the Addie sent me some Salvina minima, little giant duckweed, along with them, with the leeches for free. So I have that in there as well, just, growing on the water. So it's filled with water about an inch, maybe an inch and a half deep, and then there's a container in the middle with a bunch of holes poked in it through all sides that they could get into, and it's filled with sphagnum moss, because they do like a land area that's not land but just soaking wet, but not, it's not water. They like to rest above the water surface, um, at least from time to time. And quite often that's usually where mine are, just hiding burrowed into the moss. But now that they're fed, though, the ones that I fed so far, those are in what we call poop jail. They're just in very, very basic, just little deli cups, 16-ounce deli cups, filled with a half an inch of water. Because now that they fed, they're going to poop a lot for the next couple weeks. They'll probably poop like once or twice off of this feeding, and that will foul the water very quickly. So it's best to just keep them in a smaller body of water that as soon as they poop, you can see that they fouled it and replace it. You don't have to replace any of the moss or anything that way, in the larger container. And obviously less water that you have to replace, the better, the easier. And once I'm fairly certain they've pretty much stopped pooping, I'll put them back in the main container. But yeah, they're pretty easy, honestly. As far as like aquatic things go, or at least semi-aquatic things, really easy. The most difficult part is the blood feeding. Obviously, you have to be willing to commit to that, or to find like very like high quality, like, I don't know what chemicals they feed cows or whatever. You gotta find like premium blood from a butcher basically, and then put them in a cup of that. If you don't want to feed them yourself, it's much easier to just feed them off yourself. But obviously, if you're on certain medications like antidepressants and other medications, that it could potentially be fatal to them if they ingest your blood. So it's pretty. You gotta make sure that you're not really on anything. I'm not on anything other than insulin, which is something my body would already produce by itself if it worked properly. So yeah. And then most like fun things like THC and alcohol and stuff, once it gets into your blood, it's too diluted to affect the leeches as well. Especially if you're not doing any of that actively while you're feeding the leeches. So yeah, really just medications like antidepressants. I think maybe some birth control medication might be harmful to them. I don't know what would happen if you were on blood thinners already, because they thin your blood. They release anticoagulants into you. If you were on blood thinners while being fed on by leeches, I don't know how that would affect them or you, to be honest. So yeah, you gotta definitely do your research if you're on any medications. But if you're not on a lot and nothing that is known to harm them, you're probably good. But you will, depending on the location. Like this finger stopped bleeding within a day, but this, I think, is still bleeding. The anticoagulant's pretty potent even on the small babies, and at least in the area that you were bitten, I'm still bleeding from this wound. I think the longest it takes to stop is usually like around 3 to 4 days before your body starts like coagulating again. The blood starts coagulating again in that spot. So that's something to be aware of as well. But hey, other than that, not much to it. They are pretty freaking simple. And I think I mentioned it, but obviously they need like dechlorinated water or like actual spring water. They're pretty sensitive to any like chlorine or hard minerals, I think, in the water. Or lack of minerals, I don't know. Just don't use straight tap water on them. That will kill them. But I got that like I think an API Aqua Essential water treatment dechlorinator crap. It's like for every gallon you just need 0.1 milliliter of which I have insulin needles, so that's easy for me to measure. But yeah, you need very little dechlorinator of that extra strength crap I got for the water. So pretty effective, cost efficient. Let's see here. Okay, nothing new in there. I feel like I saw a comment while I was rambling. Alright, what setup do you have? Will that species not eat snails? No, very few. There are only certain species of leeches that will eat like other things. Like leeches that feed on vertebrate blood only feed on vertebrate blood. But there are lots of leeches that feed on other invertebrates like snails or earthworms. Sometimes they'll even like engulf whole like tadpoles and stuff. But also those leeches will never feed on vertebrate blood either. Like completely different diets for completely different species. As far as I know, there are no blood feeding leeches, blood sucking leeches, whatever, that will eat and fully consume other invertebrates, or vice versa. So yeah, there are leeches that eat snails, there are leeches that eat worms, and there are leeches that eat blood of larger vertebrates. But none of them have like really interchangeable diets. At least not so far as going from sucking blood to eating whole other organisms. So, yeah, these definitely will not eat anything other than vertebrate blood. But there is a species here in Idaho that I found of leech that was a earthworm feeder, and I do want to try to find those again at some point and try to breed them. So those would be cool. I'll have to feed them as earthworms. They got decently big too, like a few inches if I remember. So those would be neat. Okay, that guy's probably pupating. Looks like it. That one pupated. Nice. Some more Lloydies. Cuta pupating. Alright. Looking good. And what's in here again? Oh, Cryptoglossa. I have blue death veining beetles now, as well as varicoses. I got larvae. I've been getting larvae from them for weeks now. I need to start isolating those. But I've been too lazy, not just too preoccupied with other projects. And my actual day job as well. I need more time, guys. I need more time in my days. But I saw yet another comment. It was talking about, are springtails efficient at preventing mold on toilet paper rolls / egg crates? I think so, because I never really have issues with molding cardboard products. Like, I'll get that like black sooty mold on a lot of those things, but like that stuff is never like really raised above the surface of the cardboard. It seems more integrated with like the actual cardboard, but that doesn't really affect any invertebrates I keep. It just doesn't affect them. They don't get stuck in it. They don't, they don't eat it. But so that stuff obviously doesn't seem to be touched by springtails, but like regular like stringy mold, like cobweb mold or aspergillus or any of that kind of stuff, like trichoderma, any of that, I never get that on cardboard. And so I guess that's probably because of the various springtail species that are always present in all my enclosures. Possibly also the orobated mites that are pretty much present in all of my colonies. Yeah, so I guess I would say they're pretty effective. If I had, that's probably why I don't have those molds on my stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I've really never had issues with cardboard molding, so I would have to assume it's due to my bioactive setups, my unintentionally bioactive setups. So yeah, freshly sterilized like leaf litter and bark. I get a lot of mold on, but that's normal because it's just you've killed all the molds and stuff that were already present on it. So then whatever fungus is in the air or whatever in the enclosure that you then put it in has a freshly sterilized medium to conquer. But again, having springtails in those enclosures usually makes the mold blooms last no longer than a week. So, not usually a problem for me either. So, yeah. Springtails. Pretty nifty. Definitely more so than isopods. Isopods, all isopods really clean up is just excess food and sometimes dead bodies. That's it. I've never seen isopods eat mold. Like when it's already moldy, I never see them actually eat mold. My isopods won't eat the moldy food I give them. Like the food that I give them, once it starts molding, they stop eating it. So yeah, isopods are a bit overrated as cleaner crews in my opinion. For that purpose, and that's I feel like half the reason people get them. But for larger problems like leftover food and dead roach bodies and stuff like that, some isopods do have some pretty effective use there. But if you're solely worried about mold growth and stuff, springtails, and probably even like orbated mites are the way to go. All those tiny little tridivores, they do a pretty good job at keeping that stuff to a minimum. I also think maybe Compsogtes roaches and maybe even some Nocticola roaches, they might also eat mold as well. I have seen seemingly Compsogtes seem to like strip cardboard of I used to have like weird green, like sort of fuzzy mold that would grow on some cardboard in some of my enclosures. But any of the enclosures that had Compsogtes in those, the cardboard would be stripped clean of all that mold. So I think the Compsogtes were eating it. So yeah, but isopods not so much. Here. What else we got? I got any new springtails? I did collect a species of probably Cyphoderus from here in Idaho a few weeks ago when I caught those. I went to that Celebration Park in Melba, Idaho, which is where I caught the Jerusalem crickets and centipedes. So there's another small white ant springtail. If I had to guess, it's probably a species not in culture yet. So I'm trying to set those up and breed them. And when they do breed and I have enough to send off, a group will immediately go to Ryan Pavey, of course, so he can try to get them identified. And to help keep them in culture, because Ryan is the springtail god. So yeah, that's really it though. I've been trying to get Thai reds, but I've had a couple people message me as if they're interested in trading me stuff for the Thai red Lobella species springtails, and then when I message them back, they just ghost me. So I don't know. I'm not allowed to keep those, I guess. So I have been wanting to go in my backyard and look around for springtails as well. I probably should now that the weather's warmer. So I'll probably find some Isotoma viridis, maybe some Entomobria atrocinta or something. But maybe some Willowstia nigromaculata. I'm sure I could find all three of those at least in my yard. So I'll probably do that sometime next week. Anyways, I'm going to fill up this water. I'll be right back. I'm back. Ay. Water. Recently collected 8 species of springtails this year. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a real issue. I need to message Ryan about it, honestly. I seem to, no matter what containment protocols I use, even using like the 32-ounce deli cups with the airtight lids, with the mesh ventilation, so like technically nothing should be able to get inside. I still end up with cross-contamination in like my springtail colonies that I set up that way. I still end up with predatory mites getting in, which decimates most springtail species. And I often have other springtails get in too. Usually though, in those setups at least, the only ones I have get into other containers are the Paduromorpha species Tiny Blue, which don't really seem to step on the toes of most other springtail species that they get put in with, so that's not that bad. But it's more so the predatory mites that are the issue. I've tried culturing a lot of native springtails, and they're all the ones here in Idaho at least seem to be very, very sensitive to predatory mites. As soon as they just don't breed fast enough or whatever, or I just of the perfect size for the predatory mice to just go nuts on them. Whereas like small silvers and the tiny blue Paduromorphs, they seem to be too small to be affected by the predatory mites that I deal with. Euchinaria apheroides seem to not be bothered that much by predatory mites. It seems like very excessive predatory mite blooms do slow down their reproduction, but once the mites like kind of die out a bit, which they always inevitably do in my cultures, the Euchinaria just truck right along and produce so many babies that it doesn't even matter. So I've not had an issue with those in my Euchinaria, but and then my Entomobria unistrigata, Willosia species Codicinabalu, Colecobria CF tenebricosa, all of those species that are very prolific in all my roach, beetle, isopod, and other invertebrate enclosures, those they just breed too fast for predatory mites to do anything to them. Yeah, and I did recently have predatory mites get into my Pseudosinella violenta enclosure, and they've pretty much wiped them out. So that kind of sucks, although it does seem like the Pseudosinella violenta are bouncing back. The mites seem to have died down a bit, so they didn't eradicate them completely. It does look like they'll probably bounce back, but yeah, so I have an issue culturing and adequately containing springtail species and preventing cross-contamination. And I don't know if that's just something that everyone struggles with and has happened, and they're just more diligent about re-isolating cultures, and I'm just too lazy to do that, or if people have better just containment protocols overall and don't have that issue most of the time to begin with. But yeah, I kind of want to take springtail culturing a little more seriously this year, so I might do some research and stuff and figure out what I could be doing better. What else? I did get Neanura Groweri recently in a trade, just because like the Euchinaria aren't really sensitive to predatory mites or whatever, so I figured, hey, these are just like the American equivalent of those. Maybe they'll also be similarly hardy, so I have them set up basically the same, so we'll see if inevitably predatory mites will get in there, and I just want to see what happens to them. And if they survive them, then great. Same test I wanted to do with my, with the Thai Reds, but I've not been able to source those again. Not via trade, at least. I don't really have the excess funds to be spending on invertebrates at the moment. Just bought a car. Renting a house in Idaho is really expensive. And yeah, so I don't really have the money to be spending on springtails that might get eaten by predatory mites a couple weeks after I get them. But trading, I can trade for sure. Why not? I'm live. Yes, I know I'm live. Why did you tell me that I'm live again? That's weird. Was I not live for a second? Do you have any recommendations for a hardy and quick breeding Tenebrionid? Like feeder level or pet level? Feeder level, I mean just like Tenebrio, Molitor, or Obscura. Actually, Obscura are pretty slow compared to Molitor to establish, so I would just start with Molitor. If you want like a neat little pet one though, that's hardy and quick breeding, I would recommend Eloides hispilibris is a baby's first Darkling Beetle. In my experience, those are like the best, the easiest, the hardiest. They're prolific, they are fast growing and breeding for an Eloides too. And they're a nice medium-sized, very basic-looking Eloides, but still nice. Those are my first Darklings that I ever bred. Well, outside of the feeder species. Eloides Spinipes macrua is another one. Pretty easy, especially for a larger Tenebrionid. So if you want something bigger, then yeah, I would recommend those. They're also very prolific too. And then Embaphium contusum, and to some extent Embaphium muricatum. They're prolific. They're fast growing. And contusum is just super easy all around. Muricatum I find is rather prone to random bouts of fungal infections that I've had to cure. I know for me though, because like a lot of other people have not had that issue, so I don't know if it's something I do specifically that but I literally just went through curing my colony of fungal infection, and they're doing beautifully now. So when they do well, they do great. But they're also, the adults are a bit more sensitive. Embaphium muricatum adults are fairly sensitive to being too dry or too humid. So whereas contusum don't really mind as much on either end of the spectrum. So yeah, maybe Muricatum might not be the best beginner Tenebrionid. So yeah, I would suggest Eloides hispilibris, Eloides spinipes macrua, or Embaphium muricatum as hardy, prolific, and easy beginner Tenebrionids. Well, I guess you could probably get away with using contusum as a feeder once you had a big enough colony. They breed very prolifically. And I do use the Spinipes macrua as feeders for my click beetle larvae too. So, but if you have like if you need them to feed like a reptile or something consistently, you might want to invest in one of the, common feeder species instead. So I love that Cubara species Saba are now Filipinodillo species Saba. And then I can say I have a Filipinodillo species, which is like, the very few species in that genus that are in the hobby are like super expensive right now, and like go for tons of, tons of, what's the word I'm looking for? Tons of money? That's not grammatically correct. They go for a lot of money. They're expensive pods because they're new. And some of the other species in the hobby are like really huge too compared to the species Saba. But from what I hear, they all breed pretty well in captivity. So I wonder how long it will take for the Filipino species R5 giants or Filipino species Cordova to drop in price as drastically as the species Saba have. But yeah, so now I can say I have one of those bougie Filipinodillo people are always going off about now in the hobby. But yeah, and I love the name too, Filipinodillo. Even though these aren't from the Philippines, they're from Sabah, Malaysia. But obviously, that because someone named the genus Filipinodillo does not mean they are restricted to their namesake country. Also, I'm not sure. I guess this Filipino. I always assumed that was just the Philippines, but maybe at least back in the day they used that term for anything like relating to Southeast Asia. Maybe, who knows? Kind of like how Formosa used to be the name for Taiwan. I don't know. Anyways, now we're getting to isopons. That wasn't clear based on my conversation. Got some beautiful new Porcellia succinctus from Alan John recently. Those are really, really pretty. God, I've been wanting those for years. And yeah, they are not, you know, some isopod species I feel like they look great in photos and then you get them in real life and they're just kind of bleh. But yeah, not succinctus. They're just as pretty, if not prettier in person than they are in photos. So, God, I can't wait till those start popping out babies for me. Porcellanites Virgatus Everglades doing pretty well. I feel like they should be breeding more though. Like my big pine keys seem to be breeding more consistently than the Everglades. It's kind of weird. But I do see new Minka in here, so hopefully they start popping off. What is this? Armadillo Officinalis Red. No, Orange Crush. I'm pretty sure these no-named these morphs of Armadillo Officinalis that have no locality information are probably from the like OG no locality line, right? Probably. If I had to guess. I don't know. It's weird that they have no locality affixed to them otherwise. Yeah, I like Armadillo Officinalis. They're a neat little pod. I would like to get some of the locality lines eventually. I just have the Orange Crush and the OG. I'm pretty sure it's the OG like import of Officinalis that never had any locality attributed to it. So yeah. Some harvesting. Kyle recently sent me some Lepidioides Sayi from Oklahoma, along with two Eumesosoma thrown in that are. Oh, are these already breeding? There's like a half-grown Lepidioides in here. I didn't think that it started laying eggs yet. I don't know if that's a baby that Kyle sent, or if it's one that they already bred and hatched in here. Hard to tell. I need to get these guys better set up with more hides soon. They're in a pretty temporary setup as it is. But there's two Eumesosoma, whatchamacallits, Roeri in here as well. Oh no, there's eggs. Yeah, so these Lepidioides Sayi from Oklahoma that Kyle sent me are already breeding, so that's really cool. And what's extra cool about these is they're patternless, too. They're the orange, just flat orange, no markings on them whatsoever. Patternless Lepidioides Sayi, so that's really cool. And they are already breeding, so that's nice. I need to get them a bunch more hides. And then there's two Eumesosoma Roeri from Texas that Alan had apparently sent Kyle, and then Kyle just passed along to me. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure they're both female. And I guess they could be mature. They'd be a pretty light locality if they were mature. So if they were wild caught and mature, there is a chance I could get babies of those as well. However, I remain fairly skeptical. I'm pretty sure they were both collected as immatures, and then if they're both female, obviously I'm not getting any babies from those. And I don't know. I haven't contacted my customers yet, but the old Umesisoma rareri line I did sell to a few people. I'm hoping at least somebody was able to salvage that line after I kind of fudged my colony up. But that might not be the case. But I like Umesisoma rareri. It's a pretty species. I hope I can get them again. Alright, well these are breeding well. I wonder if the Lepidioides sei from Alan that I got have started breeding. Alan sent me a line from the normal patterned line from Alabama. Sent me like 5 adults. And I'm hoping there's a pair in here at least. But I have not seen eggs or reproduction out of these yet. Yeah, still not seeing any breeding from this setup. So, might not have a pair in Alan's group. Either that or they're just taking their sweet time. Granted, I do think the Alabama localities need a diapause and then breed during like late spring, early summer. So I might just be too soon for these to start breeding. Versus the Oklahoma ones probably don't need a diapause. I'm hoping they don't. I guess it depends how far south they were collected. But yeah, I'm not seeing any eggs in with the Alabamian Lepidioides sei. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Yeah. Oh well. Just get these misting. You know what? Let's get some apple slices for these guys. Kyle did send some, their flightless fruit flies in the sei group he sent me, which they don't really seem to be eating much of. And I'm wondering if I can get those fruit flies just breeding in this setup by feeding fruit consistently. I think that would be pretty funny. I thought they were supposed to develop flight again when they were warm, though. The flightless fruit flies. But I'm not seeing any, unless these are like truly wingless ones. These might be truly wingless fruit flies. Okay, well, that would make sense. I don't know a lot about fruit flies, guys. Huh. Yeah. I might actually have a pair of the Umesisoma rareri. This one looks pretty. This one, on retrospect, looks rather skinny and small compared to this larger individual. That would be super lucky if that were the case. But we'll see. Time will tell. What it is. My Hermetica. Again, on the topic of Hermetica and Lucy Hermetica and etc., not doing that well for me. Not really had much luck with my species Columbia. And my Hermetica Strumosa adults are doing fairly well. The females still look young and healthy, nice and plump. I got a litter earlier this year or late last year, but there are only 2 babies. 2 nymphs. That's a very shitty litter. So, I am getting more nymphs from Ty Randall of both Hermetica species this week. He is kind enough to send me some more. So, you know, Take two this time. I have moved my Strumosa. I had them in a I had them in a 2-gallon tub. Now I'm moving them. I've moved the Strumosa to a 5-gallon tub filled pretty much to the top with substrate. So hopefully they'll do better in a larger setup, and I will probably do the same for the Columbia. So, because I really want to get Hermetica breeding this year. That is one of my goals. One of my New Year's resolutions halfway through the year. Yeah, I want to breed Strumosa and species Columbia. And just get better with those boring Blaberids in general, those South American species. So that if I ever do get the opportunity to get something new, you know, I can breed them myself and not always have to rely on sending them to Time. Though, even if I do become confident, I will probably still send those to Ty, always, in perpetuity, first. Just because he does so damn well with them. It'd be stupid not to. Hobby first, pride second. 'Tis my train of thought. Alright. Anything else in chat? Chat says, good morning, TJ. Good morning, Satchel. I have seen your message, by the way, Satchel, on Discord. I haven't written back to it. I don't know why. I keep forgetting to. But just, yeah, it's all good. You know, I'm patient with you finding stuff. And it's still being early spring, obviously. Some of the stuff I requested is not going to be out yet. So yeah. I don't know why. It's like, sometimes when I feel like I don't have anything of value to say to a conversation, I just kind of don't write back to people. And I feel like that comes across as ghosting, and it technically is, and I feel bad about it. And then I just forget to write back to people. But yeah, no, Satchel. All good. Just keep me posted on stuff you find. Oh yeah, another springtail I did get recently were the Ceratophycella yellow lilac, yellow albino, lilac, whatever. So I got those. I got them in a clay culture, and I've been trying to keep them in this. They don't. I mean, there's some still in here for sure. I feel like they're not doing that hot. And I did set some up and separate them into an enclosure with actual substrate. Substrate that somehow has gotten Sonella, fucking Queckabria in it. So just smash that Queckabria. Small silvers too, but those are probably fine. But yeah, these ones that I put in substrate seem to be doing pretty well. The Ceratophycella, whatever. Got yellow albinos. So yeah, those are cool. Really chunky little dudes. Hopefully they take off for me in one of these cultures. Random thing in here. Nocticola species, University Park, Florida. Seem to be doing fine. Ah, there's babies, hatchlings, yay. I bred them. I bred Nocticola species, University of Florida. Woohoo! The ultimate cockroach keeper's accomplishment. Breeding a super easy parthenogenetic species. Now that's cool though. I'm glad those are doing well. Nocticola are cool. I just wish we had some of the actual, sexually reproducing species in the U.S. hobby. Because male Nocticola looks super weird. Heck, I mean, there are some species of Nocticola where even the females have wings or vestigial wings. Be cool to have some of those. Isopoda species, spiky canary, seem to be breeding. These are cute. One of those little species that just people seem to ignore now in favor of the more flashy species. But I like them. They're cute. What are these? These are Isopoda species Dream. It's a little morph project that me and my buddy Brandon Maines are working on. It has bred for me now. I need to rehouse these to the gallon shoebox probably. Hopefully sometime this week. What are these? I think these are what? They're not Dryodilla. Are they Spherillo? Spherillo species Dream now. It's the 50th ID they've been given. See if I got any chat. Oh, good. Hope I find some good stuff on the coast this weekend. Yeah. Oh, Satchel, if you're still here, Alan caught two little small orange red harvestmen, probably some sort of phalangioidid, near I think Tuscaloosa boat ramp or boat camp was the locality he scribbled on the deli cup lid. And he told me those were closer to your area than his, and that I should ask you if you can find any more of them. So if you do find any more of them, of those small, tiny red harvestmen, I want those too. So if you find any of those, nab them. The two I have from Alan seem to be doing fine. I just don't know if they're a pair or not. If they are, then I won't really need any more probably. But if they're not, obviously I would like more. And I mean, that really goes for any harvestman you find other than Libidioides Segi. I'm good on those. And then just like the really typical looking, like really spindly, normie harvestman, I don't really want any of those either. And anything in that armored harvestman group in Alabama that's not El Segi, or just something really, really unusual, I'll take. Also, if you find any Labidura ripariaria, the what are they called? Those giant coastal earwig species. I want some of those as well. Alright, looking in my Dicedera crocata container. Found one. Doing well. And it's one of the smaller ones too, so that's probably a good sign for all of these still being alive. That feels heavy, so there's probably one in there. I need to put these in something larger. But yeah, I think the Dicedera are doing pretty well. There's still a good amount of isopods in here, so I don't need to feed them today. Yeah, though, getting a nice breeding colony of these is going to be really cool. I want to get footage of one eating a Marylandella ember bee, but they're so, like, shy. Mine are, at least. They just constantly, like, if I put them in a container and they're just running around the whole time, and anything I drop in there, they get spooked by. So I haven't been able to get any video of one feeding on anything, let alone an ember bee. Oh yeah, I know the species. Sweet satchel. What's in here? These are my normal dreams. These are doing pretty well. Might be able to offer these up. Ah, someone was asking me about them. Like they really wanted some dreams. I think it was maybe Peter Rushton. This piece is really cool. They get like pretty freaking big, to be honest. The Isopoda Dryadillo Spherillo species dream, I think, is the current ID. These they get fairly large. Kind of big Armadillidium vulgare sized almost when they're like fully grown. They do take a long time to grow though. Mine have broods like fairly like sporadically, and while said broods seem to have a good survival rate, it's just the colony has been growing pretty slowly as a result. But I think I finally hit like peak population level to where they seem to be reproducing more steadily now. So that's good. Yeah, those are cool. Very pretty species. Just a bit slower to establish than some others. Here, these are the Cubaris, no, the Armadillidae species, Miyako. These have also been, I don't know what I'm doing wrong with the Miyakos. These seem to be breeding like very slowly. And I don't know if that's normal for this species. But the population growth is just taking forever. And like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like maybe I was keeping them too dry beforehand. Seem to be doing a bit better now that I'm keeping them more moist throughout the setup. But still, they're breeding so sporadically. So, I don't know. Those are also kind of annoying me a little bit, just with how long it's taking them to build up in numbers. So, yeah, that's weird. Don't know what to do with those. One good isopod bit of news, though, is my, what are they? Cynodillo species Vietnam. Those have just been, like, petering along for years for me, doing, like, not really good at all. And, I actually just, like, asked recently for help on them. And the top couple responses I got were, oh, your colony probably has bad genetics. And so then I stopped asking, because that's the response I'm going to get. Like, come on. I think most people who know me know how I feel about the whole inbreeding thing. And that it's not a thing. And if it were bad genetics, my colony should have been dead years ago. But, they seem to actually be thriving now. Of course, right after I asked that question, I just happened to tear apart the colony the other day, and there's actually quite a lot in there, more than I've probably ever had at once. And I think for those, just the key was I needed to just give them a much deeper, thick layer of leaf litter. They seem to require a pretty deep layer of leaf litter to do well, either because it's their preferred surface area, and probably their preferred like main diet as well. And I think it's more so the surface area thing too, just that's the thing they like clinging to, and they don't seem to like congregating with each other under any singular surface. They're kind of like the Marylinella species in that regard, which these used to be erroneously identified as. So, kind of makes sense. And, yeah, since they're doing much better now that I'm basically keeping them kind of like a Marylinella. So, that's good. I seem to have solved the issue with those. Also, moderate ventilation and sky-high humidity they seem to like as well. So, I think in the past I was keeping them a bit too dry as well. So, combination of different factors, and now they seem to be doing much better. So, I'm happy to finally have those. It's supposed to be a really easy species breeding fairly well for me now. And yeah, again goes to show though that whole inbreeding thing. Again, people's first response when something's not doing well for an unknown reason. Oh, it's bad genetics. Oh, it's inbreeding. Oh, blah blah blah. And then it almost always turns out not to be the case. So yeah. And for isopod people, maybe it makes a little bit more sense to them because a lot of what they get is imported like a million different times. A lot of the species get imported and collected from different locales, and localities are crossed, whatever. So compared to a lot of other invertebrate hobbies, the isopod hobby generally tends to have like much more genetic diversity for each species fairly early upon them arriving to the hobby. But most other invert hobbies, it's like, oh hey, we have this species of roach that was collected from a single female in like the late 1900s, and they've been doing well in captivity from that same stock with no extra introductions for decades. Oh, but clearly inbreeding must be bad. You have horrid king assassin bugs that breed like rabbits for the people who keep them correctly. And those again were established from a single female, like I think probably a decade ago now. But oh no, clearly when people do keep them improperly and keep them too humid or whatever, the reason they're failing is not their husbandry, it's gotta be the inbreeding, right? Yeah. So yeah, don't come at me with that inbreeding crap. That ain't why my stuff's not doing right. We really need to destigmatize inbreeding or stigmatize that being the response as being bad, because like that shouldn't be people's first gut instinct anymore. We know now that's not an issue. We have so many stocks in captivity that that's not an issue. Inbreeding is never the issue, except for stuff that you're consistently sibling to sibling inbreeding for multiple generations. That's the only time that it can be a significant factor in the fitness of your animals. Otherwise, it's not usually an issue. You got anything in chat? Okay, nothing. Let's see, any Sinortoides babies? Still no. These are supposed to be like one of the more prolific harvestmen, but I'm not having any luck getting any babies from these yet. Which is weird. I really need to fix that spray bottle. It is such a weak, with no pressure. These are my last attempt at revamping my Libidioides ornata setup. I've started getting sporadic broods of harvestman babies from these harvestmen, but they keep like seemingly just being eaten or dying off before they get to substantial size. And he's a pretty decent sized one, But so I've got them now in a 5-gallon, a lot of bark, a lot of leaf litter, a lot of springtails. There are some Compsodies in here, which not, I would rather Nocticola than Compsodies, but whatever. Uh, they should have ample places to lay eggs, ample places for the babies to hide, ample food. They should breed in this setup consistently and give me a nice next generation. Fingers crossed. I'm doing the best I can with these. This is kind of my last ditch attempt to get decent production out of these. I've had this line for like 2 years now. I think some of the adults in here are like a year or more in age, captive produced by me, but they just kind of stopped breeding for a while, or at least started relentlessly cannibalizing their offspring when they did. So, yeah, I don't know. I split the colony. That didn't seem to help much, so now I've just recombined them and put them in a much larger setup. Much more hides, so hopefully this helps. Because I really want to get decent reproduction out of these again. It's like the only harvestman that's reproducing regularly and consistently for me at the moment are the Stignoma spiniferum. Those, as long as I keep them topped off on springtails, they hardly ever cannibalize their young, and they just grow so fast and breed fairly steadily throughout the year. They're just really nice. But yeah, I mean, I'm going hard on harvestmen this year, so I'm trying to go all out on all the things I got. I got the Bidioides ornata, Seii, patternless Seii, Sinortoides quadrispinosa, the Stignoma spiniferum. I have what are the species? 3 species of Phalaginoids, whatever, that I got from Wyatt Mendez, along with that species from Allen. So that's 4 species of those tiny little harvestmen. Hoping to get some Sclerobunus later this year. Would love some Uribunus as well. I have a source potentially that might be able to get me those this year. I guess I have that potential pair of Eumesosoma roaria as well, in with the patternless Seii. So I got a lot of harvestmen right now. I would love some tropical ones, some exotic ones, if anyone ever gets those. But yeah, I'm trying to go hard on weird arachnids this year, and harvestmen are kind of the big one for me. So hoping I can get some more species, especially some larger species, breeding for me on par with my Stignoma. So I can get them available, captive bred consistently for people. Also, really, god damn it. Really hoping, my, what are they called? The mini Gurons, what is the name of those? The little mini Garoons, the Schizomids. Frick, I forget the name of the species I have, but those I'm hoping will breed soon. And also I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 species of pseudoscorpions now that are also, most of them have started breeding, so I'm hoping to go ham on those as well. I got the Dinocheirus arizonicus doing really well. Chaliferoidea species Ector County that are breeding pretty prolifically. The Paratemnoides nidificador or whatever from Florida. Those doing well. And then the CF Chelifer cansroides from Utah are also doing very well. So I got 4 species of pseudoscorpions breeding actively at the moment, and hopefully, hopefully I'll have even more if I can find some native Idaho ones this year, that is on my to-do list as well. But, I mean, we'll see about that. Got some new adult aloides to put into the hardening container. Also, you might have heard me say, god damn it, while checking up on these Darkling pupa, because I got like half a dozen, I think maybe like 8, maybe 7 or 8 larvae of Aloides schnolti from Kyle, which is a really cool Darkling beetle species. The males have incredibly long elytral extensions. Muckros is the technical term for that. They're really cool. And the first 2 I had mature were a pair, a male and a female, but literally every other one that has matured, I think I have 1 larva left that hasn't pupated, but all the rest of them have been males. So I have 1 female, which is enough to start a colony for sure. I'm expecting her to start laying eggs any day now, but would have been nicer to have a slightly more even sex ratio. The males are the cool looking ones though, so that's nice. And I got some really impressive males too with really long muckros. I gotta get pictures of them, but it would have been nicer to have a slightly more even sex ratio. Not that inbreeding is a thing, obviously, but just more larvae in general would have been better. But I mean, if they're like in most other Aloides species, 1 female should produce like dozens, if not hundreds of larvae in a single breeding season. So I should be set. And pupating them has been ridiculously easy. They seem not to be picky about excess humidity in the pupation cells at all. They take it pretty dang moist. And literally just coconut fiber, straight cocoa fiber is all that's needed for the pupation substrate. So really easy compared to some other medium to large Aloides species. So as long as they oviposit fairly readily, they're going to be a breeze to establish. So, which is good because it's a really nice looking species, really unique too. Alright, I think I saw something in the chat too. Let's see. What's your harvestman's main diet? What do I mainly feed him? Alright, I mainly feed the harvestman springtails and micro roaches. And then for the, okay, so the thing is, all of them have slightly different diets. So Libidioides and Sinertoides, as far as prey items go, it seems the largest they can take are springtails and baby micro roaches. Once the micro roaches get like, a few molts in, they seem to be too large or too fast or whatever for the harvestman to grab onto. So for Libidioides and Sinertoides, I feed springtails. Sometimes I'll throw in small groups of the micro roaches as well, because at least once the micro roaches start breeding, their freshly hatched babies do count as a food source for them. Although then I have to make sure that they don't get too out of hand in there, because I seem to have issues with them when there's too many micro roaches in their setup. So sometimes I have to keep an eye on that. There's a lot of mold there. What else? And then I also feed the Sinertoides and Libidioides apple slices, sometimes a little bit banana, because they do seem to lap up fruit juices when I feed them that. And occasionally I'll feed them like cut open soup worms and stuff too. Just larger prey items that have been cut up and their guts exposed, they seem to feed off of that as well. And then Libidioides seyi, and I think to some extent Sinertoides quadrispinosa, do seem to eat dog food like pretty regularly when I throw it in there. The seyi especially, I think the Sinertoides do too. Libidioides or Nada do not touch dog food though. They really don't, unless they're absolutely starving. So that's something I noticed with those. They're a bit more like highly predatory versus the more scavengery seyi and quadrispinosa. Yeah, so that's it for them. Then the Stignoma spiniferum, they have much larger mandibles compared to the Libidioides and Sinutoides, so those take down even fully grown, like Nocticola and maybe like half-grown Compsognes roaches. So those, but then the babies are small enough that they need springtails too. So I feed them lots of springtails and micro roaches. They don't really touch dog food, and they don't seem to touch fruits either. So that's them. I basically feed just micro roaches and springtails. And then the extra small little phalagen, I can never pronounce that family name right. But the extra tiny small armored harvestman genre I'm now working with, those pretty much exclusively feed on springtails. I am offering fruit slices as well. They might eat that when it gets a little rotten, but mostly springtails is their main diet. So yeah, that's about it. So they all get springtails. Some get micro roaches. Some get fruits and dog food. That's about it. It's pretty simple. Looks like I'm getting decent production out of my Trichelopus species Balkan Islands. Nice. Hey, yeah, look, this is that like sooty mold I was talking about. I don't know if you can see that. See, it's like it's black and like I can kind of rub it off a little bit, and it gets on my finger. That's like the extent of the mold that I get on cardboard. And usually it's not like that bad either. I don't know if this is like the really bad black mold that like if you breathe it in, it's really bad for you. It doesn't smell like anything though, and I think that the really bad black mold that grows in houses and stuff is like it smells bad. This doesn't smell like anything, so I don't know. It's just some weird sooty mold, but it doesn't bother the inverts, and it doesn't really bother me. So, and it only grows on cardboard, so I don't know what that is, but that's all I get growing on my cardboard. So, yeah, to answer Pleco with a P's question. Well, I got some looks like some baby Porcelia magnificus were born recently. Good. I need to rehouse these to a larger enclosure probably this week as well. I'm going to be doing a lot of rehousing this week. I got a 5-day weekend coming up, so a lot of stuff getting moved to bigger enclosures this week. Yeah, so a lot of enclosure rehouses and a lot of, hopefully I'll catch some cool stuff over the weekend too. And then to top it off, I'll be going to an AJR concert on the 23rd. That's fun. Man, these freaking Nisodilla archangeli yetis are so prolific. Oh my god, so many babies. And what's this? This and all right. There's another small species of centipede that I'm working with that I only have 2 of at the moment, but hopefully by the end of the year I'll have more. I mean, these could be a pair for all I know, but I'm hoping to get more to confirm a breeding group of Arthrorhabdus pygmaeus, small native species found in the southwestern U.S. They kind of just look like really small Hemiscolopengia or Scolopendra polymorpha. Really neat little guys. But again, trying a communal setup for centipedes to try to breed them, and so far seems to be working. These two have been in here for like a month, and I think last time I checked on them, they were both alive. I don't see either of them right now, but I'm gonna assume they're doing fine. But yeah. Neat. My normal Panda King colony also needs to be moved to a larger setup. Kind of bummed with how long I've had these and how inbred they are. Because I started with a small group from Kyle, and then I sold them all off, but then I ended up having a pair escape and get into another enclosure. And it happened to be a sexed pair, and I isolated them and started breeding them again. And still no mutants, nothing. No oranges or any Dalmatians or anything have popped up with these guys. Lame. You know, that's how I originally got my Niscus Acellus Mardi Gras, more isolated. I had that culture for like, 6 years? And they had gone through multiple waves of me neglecting them and killing all but like a dozen of them, and then restarting them from that, and getting them back into like hundreds, and then killing them off again because of negligence, because I was a teenager. And then all of a sudden, like 1 year, just out of the blue, no extra stocks added, no nothing, just all of a sudden I started getting Dalmatians popping up. So, I don't know, I feel like something similar should be happening with those Panda Kings, or as Kyle calls them, Panda Rats. And nothing. I do think that is that's a funny name, calling them Panda Rats. I think we should all start calling them that. They are basically little rat Cubaris. It's funny, I was supposed to get both Hebardina ugandana and Hebardina consina from this breeder that I got some of these new roaches from. But apparently their consina colony was either contaminated and overtaken by ugandana, or they were mistakenly sold ugandana as consina, but never realized it, and so I received them, and both groups are definitely Hebardina ugandana, and I'm like, hey, dude, you don't have consina, not anymore at least. And they're like, oh, dang, must have been sold to me as the wrong species. So, yeah, supposed to get that species, did not end up happening. But again, goes to show how freaking virulent the Hebardina ugandana are in the European hobby, and yet none of us U.S. breeders have been able to get them to breed for us, and I don't know why. I'm thinking we've been keeping them too dry. So I'm keeping mine like really humid and with not much ventilation. And we're going to see if that works. Hopefully it does. Hebardina. The Coralampra fulgensioi. We're going to be doing fine. Yeah. Alright. And now we've got Hey look, pseudoscorpions. Dinocheirus arizonicus. These have been doing pretty good. Kyle only sent me like a male and 2 females. But both females are gravid, and my god, they've produced a lot of babies. And those babies are starting to get big enough to where some of them might start having babies soon. It's a really nice species. I've seen some, at least one person, like kind of complaining that Kyle only sold them as single or pairs of females, and I can kind of understand that, and I will probably sell pseudoscorpions only in groups of like 8 or whatever, maybe 6 even. Um, I mean, I will say, if you set them up right, 1 or 2 females, gravid females, is probably all you need to start up cultures of most pseudoscorpions. Like, at least this species is pretty dang hardy. And they produce like seemingly multiple broods from a single mating, if I had to guess. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Kyle's fairly justified in selling them at the price point he does for the amount that he sells. And again, it's not like anyone else is selling this species and has them on the market regularly. Except maybe Will. Will Sam something. Samojin. I'll never say his name right. I'm sorry, Will. If you're listening to this. You're probably not, but if you are, I'm sorry. Exotic Wilderness. TJ just casually growing some suspiciously looking black mold. Yep. That's me. All sorts of molds, man. Got the black sooty mold, you got the trichoderma and the cobweb molds that grow on food. I got some disgusting yellow aspergillus growing on all my moldy food now. Got Leucocoprinus mycelium in this Balta enclosure. All sorts of fungi. I have an air purifier now in my room. It's not running right now, but it usually is running 24/7. Weirdly though, it does say that the air quality here is good until I start running my humidifier. Once my humidifier starts running, it instantly goes into the red. So I don't know if like the excess humidity screws with the sensor on the air purifier. It makes it think, oh, the air is like gross, but really it's just humid. I feel like that shouldn't mess with it, but I don't know. But I'm fine. It's all good. Mold is love. Mold is life. As long as I'm not huffing it, I'll be fine. You know, there's like a horrible, like really rare disease you can get from like inhaling aspergillus too much, or at least certain species of aspergillus, which is why I'm not too fond of it being in my setups lately. I think it's like it's a random chance that you can get infected with aspergillus in your lungs, and it can start growing in your lungs, like on the walls of your lung membrane, and so you're literally growing mold inside of your lungs. That sounds horrible. I think it's like really like dangerous too. So that's gross. Granted, I think it's a very specific species of aspergillus, and it's probably not the one that I happen to have in my cultures. So I'm probably fine. But yeah, it's kind of gross. If you think about it. Looks like I'm getting babies from my Lactobacillus rennie. That's good. It's been a little while since I had a good culture of those. Last time I tried setting them up, I put them in too small an enclosure and moved them too late, and they ended up screwing off. But this time I started them in a half-gallon to begin with, and so they should be fine. Litericollis from Kyle recently. These seem to still be infected with whatever, like, slightly entomophagous fungus your stock is contaminated with, because definitely had some, yeah, I mean, there's a dead one at the bottom there. I think for that reason, I'm actually going to throw in some dwarf whites. Because I have this fungus, I don't know, it's like slightly entomophagous. It seems to like weaken adults, perhaps slightly shorten their lifespan, but not enough to where the culture dies if they are set up well. And I have that same fungus in my Episymplos syndioca culture, which is also originated from Yorg. And they're doing fucking phenomenally in spite of said fungus that only seems to target adults. I don't actually know if it kills the adults prematurely or if it only grows on dead adults, but they must have it in their system when they're alive, in my opinion. But regardless, it seems like I have a shit ton of dwarf whites in my Episymplos setup, and they help eat. I think they eat some of the dead bodies before that mold even starts to grow, and so I've seen less of that mold in my colony as the years have gone on. So I'm gonna throw some dwarf whites into there, and let's see. I have a colony of dwarf whites over here. Alternatively, I could use Carabacia Christiani, which would be cooler, but at the same time, I know dwarf whites work, so I'll just use that. And okay, so this is like one of the very few species I would feel comfortable keeping dwarf whites with, because number one, it's a Blatella, so, you know, whatever, they're pretty hardy. But also, Blatella don't really touch the substrate unless they need to. So, it doesn't matter if said substrate is rising with Triturina. Because Blatella don't even drop their ooths in the substrate, they carry them until they hatch, so it really doesn't matter. And the only reason I let the Triturina be in with my Episymplos, even though Episymplos do lay their eggs in the substrate, is because Episymplos oothica are so ridiculously hard-shelled that the Triturina can't eat them. So, yeah, so the Triturina do perfectly fine with the Episymplos, and I think we'll do good with the Blatella. So, yeah, let's get those in there, see if that helps. But hopefully, none of the Blatella females Kyle sent have started producing ooths yet, as far as I can tell, so hopefully they do soon. But we'll see. I've not done well with Blatella in the past, but really the only species I've tried is the Laturcolis directly from Yorg, which were very unhealthy, and then the suspect Blatella species Zyman, also from Yorg, also pretty unhealthy. When I first got him, at least. When I first brought him in. Yeah, checked with my Scarlet colony, and there are some babies. Scarlet what? Scarlet Marylinella? Do you have Scarlet Marylinella? Do you want to trade anything for those? I've been looking for other Marylinella species for a while, and I can't find anyone willing to trade me anything for them. I really want tricolors or scarlets or red diablos or literally anything other than ember bees, because I have a good amount of ember bees. They're doing well. And now I want to branch out into other species, but no one will trade me anything for them. No one, or at least like I've had a couple people say, "Oh, I'll trade you for them," and then they're like, "Oh, my colony's not doing well enough to trade. Sorry." Millipedes, millipede, dang! Ah, just scarlet millipedes. Ah. Okay. Congrats, though. That's still cool. Congrats on the baby peds. But no, I'm not looking for scarlet millipedes. I'm looking for scarlet Marylinella. Yeah, no one wants to trade me anything for those. Like, even people who I know are interested in roaches. Actually, kind of a shitty thing. A certain keeper that keeps both roaches and uh, isopods and had tricolors available. I asked if they were interested in trading for Euchordia westwoodi, which are approximately the same valuation on the market, price wise. And if anything, you're hard pressed to find Euchordia westwoodi here in the US because I'm like the only person distributing them, whereas there's multiple people with Marilynella, multiple people importing wild caught stock and selling it, you know. But I was like, hey, do you want to trade for these? And they're like, no, I'm not interested in adding more roaches to my collection, was their excuse. And then like a couple weeks later, I auctioned off a group of westwoodi for a fairly low price, you know, in an auction, and he won that auction. And I was like, I thought you weren't interested in adding more roaches. And he was like, well, you know, the deal's a deal. Like, you mother. You know, I mean, I can't really fault him, but at the same time, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I would have been more generous too in the group size I sent if it were a trade as well. So, I mean, whatever. Personally, I think westwoodi are cooler than most Marilynella. Like, Marilynella are colorful, but they're not metallic. Westwoodi are metallic and beautiful orange, pink. No, not orange. No, orange and purple, not pink. Yeah, like purplish markings on their back. A bit of green and blue iridescence. They're just such a colorful species. Marilynella are neat and all. I just want to branch out into more Marilynella species. It's got to be so difficult to trade for some. I keep my Ember Bees. They're the most consistently bred Marilynella in general. Yeah, I don't know why they seem to be the most easiest one, but it does seem like people have the most success with them, which is why I would like to try to challenge myself a bit and branch out into some of the other species that are a little more difficult to consistently breed. But the Ember Bees I just have in a 5-gallon tote. I started them off in something smaller, but I've now got them in a 5-gallon tote like this. And ventilation all along the this upper sides and the lid, so decent airflow. And then like about an inch of substrate, just coconut fiber. They're not gonna, no matter what substrate you use, they're not gonna be down in the substrate much at all. So it really doesn't matter what you use because they spend most of their time. They're pretty arboreal roaches, so they spend most of their time above. So I have like 3 or 4 inches of just straight leaf litter and bark like stacked on top of each other. But just a lot of leaf litter, a lot of leaf litter, stacked basically almost to the top. And that's where they spend most of their time, up in the leaf litter, up in the upper layers. Some of the babies are in the lower layers where it's a bit more humid. I do try to mist them at least twice a week, keep them very consistently humid, and they're about 75, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And I feed them fruit and dog food as the supplemental diet. And it's funny, I feed them in little food bowls on top of the leaf litter, and even the little babies will climb up into them. So yeah, they're really good at climbing at all life stages. So they're basically an arboreal isopod, to be honest. So I set them up in such a way, and they seem to be doing really well. So yeah, honestly, kind of simple. Just a lot of space, a high humidity, decent airflow, and lots of leaf litter. And that's about it. Pretty freaking easy. And from what I hear, the other Marilynella are basically the same. They in setup, they're just a little bit less forgiving if the parameters go outside of what they like, and they also might be a little bit less prolific than Ember Bees. But other than that, care is basically the same across the Marylanellas, so I do really want some of the others. Kyle was supposed to send me his last remaining trio of Red Diablos, but he never did. So, a little bummed about that. Okay, this is gonna require this. So many freaking ghost Platymeris hatching out, man. It's not even funny. I'm really hoping Alan breeds his Cytala horrida, so I can get some of those from him. Because, I mean, the ones I got from him last time did super well for me, so I just... Whereas the last group I tried to get from someone else, they just did not do well for me. I don't know if it was because they were older or whatever, but this time I just want to wait for Alan to breed them and just get them off him again, because that worked well for me. 2017. So hopefully Alan makes a lot of babies. A lot of baby Pystala horrida. Yeah. Speaking of Platymeris, Ugatatus. You can see him. Cool little dudes. Big dudes. Probably go one more week between feeding. Get this. That it? Okay. This goes. And I got a lot of stuff crammed into this lower shelf. The Armadillidium nasatum I got from Russ, the whiteouts, are doing really well. They seem to be fully isolated too. I think he and Alan got them from Kyle before they were completely isolated, and then sent them to Russ, I think again before they were completely isolated, but I think Russ has done the last of the legwork required, because Yeah, there's not a single wild type specimen popping up in this colony. So that seems to have been fully proven out. So yeah, these look really nice. So big thanks to Russ for these beauties. And I got the Armadillidium punta cana from him as well, which hopefully should be a pure locality. I forget what Kyle's criteria for what he thought were pure unmixed punta cana were. But they look real good to me, the punta cana. And they've started breeding, so we'll see. I think, what was it? Yellow flecking, like excessive yellow flecking was Kyle's criteria for thinking they were crossed with American Vulgar. These have, some of them have like a little bit of flecking, but not much. So I think they're probably good. And they're big. They're so big. Too, so yeah, we'll see. I think they're good. And then lastly, we have the Ligidium elroydi. These have done so for me lately. I think I needed to give them a bit more hides this time from the get-go. It seems like they cannibalized a bit as a result of a lack of hides. But I'm pretty sure I have 2 males and a female left. And I think it looks like they're all still alive. So, and I did give them a bunch more hides. Yeah, they're all still alive. So, I mean, as long as I don't screw up with this last trio, I should be able to get a colony going. But boy, are they finicky. Let's get them some food. Chat again. I'm actually thinking to get Pycnoceros indicus, mixed sizes, and Penchillor nivea nymphs soon. Any tips? I've never kept either of those species. But I mean, Pycnoceros is like, the care for those is literally just throw them in dirt and let them do their thing. So I don't think those need any tips. Nivea, from what I've experienced with a lot of Penchillor species, they like a pretty chunky substrate. And do seem to prefer more organically rich mixes, or at least seem to benefit from a lot of different textures, a lot of different nooks and crannies for nymphs and adults to hide. I would say don't skimp out and start them off in a fairly spacious enclosure as well. They seem to do better when they have good space. But yeah, other than that, not much to them. Trying to maneuver around here. Yeah, other than that, they should be pretty straightforward approaches to culture. Yeah, we get Capophora coneheaded. Conehead katydid? Is that the name for the genus? From French Guiana. Wait, no. It's Peru, isn't it? Yeah, it's the Peruvian species, not the French Guiana ones. I only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hatchlings, 5 babies. Out of 20 eggs I got, only about 8 of them were good. One's still incubating, and one hatched out into a very sickly nymph that just didn't make it. But I have 5 that are doing pretty well. Hopefully I'll have a pair out of the 5, and it's not a unisex group. But yeah, so far seem to be doing pretty well. I'm feeding them mostly fruit and cut up superworms. Where's my? Yeah, then I literally just use scissors and just slice the worms up. But, yeah, these guys seem to be doing pretty well. I'm really hoping I get at least a pair out of them because I really like these. I would like to branch out into more predatory katydids as well. Even though they are something I do have to keep separate. Which is kind of annoying, but they're pretty hardy and they accept a wide variety of foods. They'll accept like pre-killed cut up stuff, you know. That makes them a winner in my book. So even though they don't do well communally, I will still probably be interested in branching out to more representatives of this group of katydids in the future. But yeah, these are cool. I like them. Pretty soon, probably in the next molt, I'm going to have to move them to 32-ounce delis instead of these 16 ounces. Superworm. I'd really love those like bull-headed dog katydids, whatever those they call those. I think the genus name starts with L. Those would be cool. I don't know if anyone's in the U.S. still works with those. Oops. Like L. coronatum, I think is the name. Vestria would also be cool to work with. Those are like the colorful Copophora, basically. I'll throw this in with the Libidioides say. Just an extra little superworm chunk. Paper towel. And apple. And voila. That's the katydids taken care of. Paratemnoides nidificator, pseudoscorpions. It doesn't look like these need water or springtails, so I'll leave them be. This is how I'm housing my pseudoscorpions at the moment, by the way. Just these little half-gallon jars from Walmart with screw-top lids. Poked a bunch of big ventilation holes on top, and then just have paper towel underneath. Screw that on. They can't escape, but it allows for decent airflow exchange. And then just a bunch of bark, a little bit of coconut fiber at the bottom, and I dump it full of springtails and replace the springtails and water them as needed. So, pretty simple. And it seems to be working for most of my species. What do we got here? Indicus have the same care as Surinoms. Yes, they are sister species, in fact, and some debate as to whether Surinamensis may have actually evolved out of Indicus. But yeah, Care's the same as Surinamensis. They're just sexually reproducing Surinamensis. Is really all Indicus are. Actually, you know what? I'm going to fill this up. I'll be right back. Chat. Yes. I'm into snails. Oh, I missed Satchel. Am I into snails and slugs at all? Not really. I have a few species of, well, really two species of snail that I'm like consistently culturing. One's like a really, really little tiny itty bitty one, and one's more medium sized. They're both just small species I was going to use as feeders for fireflies. But then the firefly thing didn't end up panning out so well. So in their own right, I'm not super into mollusks, to be honest. I feel like some of the more interesting land snails, like more colorful ones, I mean, I might be interested in one day. Like if those like green, like I've seen like pictures of those green like arboreal snails. I don't know if there's any native ones or if they're all like tropical ones. Those look cool. Probably a pain in the ass to keep though, I'd imagine. And then Platydema tweedii, I think that's the name. Those like Malaysian fire snails. Those look cool. But again, I hear those don't do so well long term in captivity. Or at least import or export very poorly. So yeah, either of those I'd probably be tempted to keep if I were offered any, but other than that, I've not got a huge interest in snails or slugs. Now, if you could get carnivorous ones, though, that didn't require other snails and slugs to eat, like ones that would just like be predatory on a variety of other invertebrates, no matter if they're like, you know, boringly patterned, I would probably be interested in those. Because that's just interesting. I guess like those pancake slugs also sort of interest me. Banana slugs too, again because of their size, but banana slugs are a pain in the butt. Yeah, I think most of the mollusks I'd be interested in keeping are either a huge pain in the ass to keep or just like super illegal. So either way, I can't win when it comes to those. Kept the green cheese snails in it, not so easy to care for. What was the other part of that? Also bred pancakes in 2023, but they died out. Oh. What was difficult with the green tree snails? By the way, I'm just curious. Pleco. Is it diet? I feel like those would eat mostly like live plant matter and not be as much of a scavenger as the other snails. But I could be wrong. Or maybe they need like a really weird arboreal setup. Looks like I got subadult Meogrylis finally. But only subadults. Need adults. I need more chirping, more different type of chirping in this room during the live streams to piss Alan off. Dubias. Dubias ain't doing so great lately. I don't know what's going on. I just like removed a bunch of the gross substrate at the bottom of their container. It's I think I need to give them more ventilation. It smells so heavily of ammonia. That's probably not a good sign. I think at some point I just fed them too much like wet stuff. So that got the substrate a little dank, and then now it just smells bad. Yeah, I'm gonna, again, there's a lot of things I have to revamp this week. Dubias are one of them. I need to give them more ventilation for sure. Dry this stuff out. Dry them out, maybe move them to a higher shelf instead of on the floor so that the heat helps dry things out as well. I need lots of ventilation, but I also need it very humid. Need a lot of climbing space, but they're gorgeous for the tree snails. Yeah, that makes sense. High airflow and high air humidity are pretty consistent qualities with a lot of tropical arboreal invertebrates. And if you live somewhere with very low air humidity like me, that can be pretty hard to consistently provide. But not impossible. Yeah, I mean, if I were given the chance to work with those, I probably would try. But, I don't really see that happening anytime soon. I feel like my Mitconiscus spinosus taking a lot longer to kick off than my Mitconiscus metcalfi. Kind of sucks because I really like Mitconiscus spinosus more than metcalfi. Yeah, I mean, they just seem to be taking their sweet old time to proliferate. And I haven't even seen the Mitconiscus spinosus since I got them. They could be dead for all I know, but I doubt it, because I don't see why they would be. But they're very secretive. Okay, no, there's a baby. There's babies. Okay, they are breeding. And they are still alive. Just hiding very well. Okay, that's good though. I take it back, they are breeding. Yeah, just hiding very well, I suppose. But that's good. You know me, I like my weird, obscure micropods. And just weird, obscure micro species of stuff in general. Oh yeah, Satchel, I guess if you find any random pseudoscorpions... I think we already talked about pseudoscorpions, actually. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you happen to find any cool ones in Alabama, just let me know. I say pancake slugs. Do you mean the actual species Veronica sloanii or the native Florida leatherleaf slug? I don't know the difference. I'm pretty uncultured when it comes to leatherleaf slugs, to slugs and snails in general. So like either of them, I don't either of the little flat velvety guys. I mean, obviously, I do prefer like native stuff, so native ones would be cooler in my opinion. But I'm not cultured enough at the moment, not learned enough in mollusks to really know the difference. I'm a filthy casual when it comes to mollusk. I also had Cornu asporum or whatever, the common escargot snail. I still have one, and it was a part of a trio, so theoretically it could be mated. I don't know, but those did not do well for me. I guess maybe I put them in too small of a container to start off with, but I ended up losing all but one of them, and that one is still alive and now seems to be doing great. But it's in my 5-gallon Tafiliska Eulothera enclosure. But yeah, those did not do well for me, and that feels kind of stupid because those are like supposed to be one of the easiest, I feel like, to breed snails. Trugadillo green spots. This is another species that does kind of so-and-so for me. I am wondering if I just need to like go really heavy on the leaf litter. But I don't usually find them on the leaf litter, unlike the Marylinella and Cynodillo. So it makes me think it's more of a humidity thing. Oh, look, you're not supposed to be in there. But yeah, oh, there's a nice big litter of babies. Yeah, I can't tell if the sign of the Troglodilla want more or less humidity from me? Feels like maybe more humid. I don't know. It feels like every time I keep them too humid, they just start having big die-offs. But I never find them hanging out much in the dry part of the setup. Oh well, no, there's some here in the drier part. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just keeping them on a 50-50 gradient for now in a fairly large enclosure, so I mean, yeah, there seems to be population seems to be growing pretty well actually right now, so maybe I just need to be more patient. Probably just need to be patient. Also, it's funny, I put, when I started this colony, I used some leftover Euchordea linglong substrate in here because I had thought that culture wasn't producing any oops. And apparently they were, and so I keep finding random Euchordea nymphs in here, even like a year later. Pretty funny. My Macropenethia still haven't bred, and it's making me a little antsy, but not much I can do other than sit and wait. Alright, let's see. Sure, Satchel has more to say. The black velvet. Okay, I was running the black. In chat. From what I've seen, True Pancakes like only has a handful of records in Florida. No one has them in culture. Oh, they get almost twice the size of the native species. I'm running right now. To get the Florida species this weekend. Okay, cool. So the black lily slugs get bigger than the native species. Okay. Well, then honestly, I might be more inclined to want the black ones. Although again, natives are cool. I like natives. Is this one mature yet? Alrighty. Marylandella time. Yeah, the only thing really worrying me about my Marylandella right now is the amount of Compsogtes and orbated mites that are really proliferating in here. And can't do much about the mites. The Compsogtes, I try to squish them when I see them, but that's kind of a losing battle. But it doesn't really seem like the Marylandella mind them much. And I think the Compsogtes probably mostly stick to the lower layers anyways, whereas the Marylandella are always about as high as they can get in the setup. Yeah, still, if I see adult female Compsogtes, I smash them. when I can. But yeah, these Marylandella, they're doing very well. The Marylandella are doing very well. So, yeah, these are nice. And I really, really, really want another species. But without shelling out an arm and a leg worth of money. I don't know. Maybe if I sell a group of Emberbees for top dollar, maybe I'll just turn around and use that to buy tricolors or something from somebody. Which is essentially a trade of money for money. Yeah, these are cool. Such cool pods. So active compared to a lot of other isopod species and genre. Active, colorful, arboreal. About as roachy as you can get in an isopod. Granted, there are still plenty of roaches I find cooler than these or any other isopod. Because I'm based. Alright, some apple. I don't actually know if they eat apple, like the fruit I give them at all. They definitely eat the dog food, but the fruit, excuse me, the fruit mostly goes untouched. So I don't know if they even really eat that. But I like offering it just in case. Accumulator back on top. Chat. Maryland species of those? The Emberbees. It's the only Marylandella species I have. That's why Bee Sloaney are the true pancake slug and they get massive. Okay. Actual species. Does anyone have Veronica sloaney? Not that I know of. Oh well. Of course, the biggest ones no one has. You know, another thing I gotta do is I gotta rehouse a lot of these pseudophilodromids. My Neoplatella, Carablata, Margatia, etc. I want to put them in some of these for permanent containers. And these deli cups work, but something a little larger would probably be better long term. That way I can actually like properly label them too. None of my pseudophilodromids are labeled, and they're all set up like in the same containers, in the same thing. But thankfully, I'm well learned enough to be able to tell them apart by looking at them. But you know, it's it's a little unprofessional, I guess. Just looking at the containers, I don't necessarily know what's in here, but once I open them up and see the species, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's Carablata minima, not Neoplatella species Miami. So yeah, but no, I want to get these set up in more permanent enclosures, proper labeling, and all that fun stuff. These have been selling pretty well for me lately. Pseudophile dromids. It's like 1 or 2 people, but they keep buying multiple groups of them. Like are you in Discord, some missions for me. Oh, this is something interesting. I was talking with Kyle about it on the on Discord, but there's a sighting from California from like a couple months ago of what appears to be Drimoplaneta Haedi. What's the? I don't think I can pronounce it. the scientific name. It's not Drimoplaneta semivita. It's Haediana or Haediana or whatever. But a new Drimoplaneta species in California seems to be established. The person is saying they saw multiple of them on their property. And I mean, I don't doubt that they could. It's another species that is, native to Australia, but adventive in New Zealand, much like Drimoplaneta semivita. Gosh, having a stroke. And Drimoplaneta semivita, because they have, adjusted to New Zealand, even the areas that get pretty cold winters. And so I don't doubt that another species similar to that, or even just straight up semivita, could become established in California. So those are probably established there, and hopefully, I did ask that person if they could collect some for me, and they said they'd try. So, I mean, that would be pretty cool. But a new Drimoplaneta species for culture, and now a new invasive species in the U.S. Yay, right? Probably brought in via, cargo. Definitely not brought in by the pet trade, because we don't even have that species in culture. But yeah. Something new to look out for in California. There's also that species of Well, actually, no, I think it is a proper ectobiid, not a pseudophile dromid. Capreolus panzeri from the Bay Area in California. We haven't gotten those in culture even once, but they're established down there. And also we still need, what's that other species? Luridoblata trivittata from a lot of Southern California, but also the Bay Area as well. Come on, California people, we need you. We got some invasive species down there that we want in culture, not just the native ones too. Yeah, those would be cool to get any of those in culture. So ideal temps for breeding G. portentosa and javanica, I would say like 80 to 85 Fahrenheit is probably optimal. Yeah, that's what I would say. Any cooler, it's gonna take a long time, or they might just straight up abort. And if you get into the 90s temporarily, it's fine, but I think long term, that's probably not the healthiest form either. Except supposedly, like Elliptorina davidi, like it's super hot all the time. So, but yeah. I had this container of the Episimplois Syndaica with the old wrong label of Hemithar Cicera palliata on it for ages. So I'm just gonna correct that. Episimplois. There we go. Properly labeled. Not that I could possibly mistake them for Hemithar Cicera, but now that I have Hemithar Cicera palliata again, might as well avoid any confusion. Where's this? No. Just these. This. No, what did I have there? Bruh. What was in this spot? There's an empty spot here. I don't know. I'm just gonna put this. Why not? Okay. There's that taken care of. Alright, now we know I can move this back. Get all this sorted out. This. Clear up some floor space. I need more shelves again. It's ridiculous. I have a problem. I need an intervention, man. I got too many bugs. Too many bugs. I think I'm at 320 species now. And counting. Oh boy. I just need more time, man. I need to look into dropping down to part-time at Walmart in the near-ish future. So I got these Chelipheroidea from Ector County, Texas. It don't appear to be Chelipher they're breeding pretty well. I need to send a group to Will for identification. For sure. So they're cool little guys. Don't know what they are though. Something neat. Let's see what we got here. Live chat. See the terms. Okay, that's it. Dude, see a bit better. Okay. New Darrow Peltis. You're doing good. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna feed them a little bit of fruit. Doralea Orini. I need to get these in a bigger setup as well. So we need more Doralea species. I know we need more of the colorful ones. The Blattidae species Philippines are probably a Doralea species. but they are not 100% confirmed to be, as far as I'm aware. I would like more of those, like Malaysian species. They got like the Doralea heinzii, they're big and colorful. I think they have cool, pretty Doralea from Thailand as well. Just some more variety in Doralea would be nice. They're really nice blattids. Really just be nice to have more nice blattids in general, to be honest. More blattids in general in the hobby. Kind of hurting for diversity in that group. Now that Polyzosterinae seem to be starting to be cultured more readily in China, hopefully we get some of those over here eventually as well. I am in contact with a Chinese breeder who has multiple species of Polyzosteria and Cosmozosteria as well. It's just that the prices are obscene. It's like $500 a nymph. It's ridiculous. If anyone has $1,000, they want to, a couple $1,000 they want to cash out, I can get you guys Polyzosteria fairly easily, but yeah, I don't think they're worth that much at all. It's ridiculous. I don't think any roach is worth $500 a piece. And this is coming from someone who loves roaches more than any other invertebrates. But yeah, no, not worth $1,000 for a pair. Like, that's just insane. Oh hey, I got baby Porcelia warneri. Nice. These are cool. I love these. So flat. Sweet. Add those to the successfully bred isopod list. Sweet. Flat little dudes. I really need some silverback warneri too at some point. I really love these normal ones. Wasn't someone working on a Dalmatian morph of Porcelia warneri at one point? Did anything ever happen with that? Did it ever get isolated? Cause those are, oh god, those are cool. I would totally trade the heck out of those. Porcelia bolivari are kicking the heck off. After me getting my group down to a single pair last year, keeping them in two substandard of conditions. Ended up with a single pair, and I was like, okay, these are gonna die. And then I just threw some other Porcelia expanses in with them, and then all of a sudden the bolivari started breeding again. And it's like, well, dang it. Then I had to separate them. And now both are doing great. But yeah, and it just goes to show you can get down to a single pair of something, but you know, don't give up. It ain't over till they're all dead. And yeah, these guys are really popping off now. That pair is still alive, and they're huge for bolivari. That's really doing nice. So yeah, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yeah, some of these species I have a lot of trial and error, just figuring out the right humidity to ventilation ratios for them. Because it's like most of the advice out there is from people who have much higher ambient air humidity than me. So they're like, oh, keeps all the Spanish Porcelia like really super ventilated, but also really dry. Only a quarter of the enclosure humid. I do that, and like half of them die within a month from dehydration, and it's like, what the hell? So it's like most of these I have better luck keeping them well ventilated, but with like a third to 2/3 of the entire enclosure kept humid. Seems to be the better ratio for me in my area with my abysmally low air humidity. Although now I got a humidifier in my room, so that should help with that issue. I shouldn't have to keep them as humid anymore, or as the substrate doesn't need to be that moist now that the air humidity is higher. Ooh, nice. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that well. There's a lot of Hoffmann-Segi whiteouts. These guys are doing phenomenal. A lot of babies. The substrate as well. Beautiful. Love these. I don't know, I really like whiteout forms of isopods. Just the fact that their eyes don't even have pigmentation. They look like troglobites. Troglobites? Yeah, troglobite, I think is the term for something that is only found in caves and stuff. It makes them look like that. It makes them look, devolved almost. But then a lot of isopods also get like really translucent looking when they're in their whiteout morph. So they just look like this glassy, see-through, primitive looking invertebrate. I don't know, I really like that morph in isopods. So, really neat. The orange form, I have to say, I'm not as big of a fan of in this species. It just kind of looks like worse Porcelia magnificus. But my oranges are also doing well. My starter group of those, the orange Hoffmann-Segi, were very male heavy. So I just removed a bunch of the excess males in there. And I think there's like 2 females and like 7 males. So, but now that there's less males in the setup, with the females, should start breeding and doing well soon. I'm expecting. It looks like some of the females are already becoming gravid, so or at least one of them. So should get babies from them pretty soon, and then I can cross them and try to make yellow whiteouts like they did with Porcelionides prunosus. Alright, bye Pleco. Oh, and bye Satchel. Thank you both of you for hopping in and chatting. See how my Porcelia expansus Witch's Potion, I think is the name Warren uses, Witch's Potion. It's confusing because there's Porcelia ornatus, Witch's Brew, and then Armadillidium vulgare, Magic Potion, and then Orange Dalmatian Orange Expanses are Witch's Potion. It's weird. But seems like they're doing well. Still a bit on the small side. I haven't bothered getting decent photos of these yet. I want to wait till they're bigger, more attractively patterned. I mean, they're really pretty, but they'll look better when they're bigger. So I'm just waiting on a little bit of size, a little bit of a growth spurt on them. But still alive. And hopefully, starting with 9 of them will be good enough to get a good culture going right off the bat. Because like most of, even like the big isopod keepers, they don't really have that form, it seems like. because Oren has set such a high price for them. No one's really willing to pay that outright. But both me, Kyle, and Ellen have traded for them, so, you know, they're getting established eventually. Figure out places for these later. One species again that just kind of does a little well for me every now and then just kind of crashes, and then I have to save them again and baby them until they get back up in numbers, and then they end up crashing again. This is Armadillidium corcyraeum, which is weird. It should be a very simple species, but I don't know. Mine seem to have a lot of issues. I think again it's like a humidity thing that I'm just not getting right. But they seem to be doing better in this new setup that I've set them up in. It's a bit smaller than their previous setup, but better ventilated. Actually, my old Cubaris species amber enclosure, and these corcyraeums seem to be breeding better in here now. Conversely, my ambers, my Cubaris species ambers, are not doing too hot lately, and I'm not exactly sure why. So I just kind of revamped their setup, and now one of the reasons why they're not doing so well is there's a bit of Leucocoprinus in the substrate, which is a bit annoying, but these don't burrow that much, so I don't feel like that should be that big of an issue for them. I think they also, I may have just oversold from them and also just not changed their substrate quick enough. A combination of issues, I think, kind of led to them tanking. But they do seem to be rebounding a bit now. I got fresh substrate for them, bunch of new hides, so they have more surface area, and it would appear as though they are rebounding. As long as the Leucocoprinus doesn't become an issue for them, I think they should be fine. But yeah, these guys came a little too close to losing them for comfort. But yeah, I'm seeing Menka in the substrate, so hopefully they're fine. Just gotta baby them a little bit, maybe, to get them back up to full steam. And also avoid selling from them for a while to make sure I don't make that mistake again. Dog food. Cellionites CF Virgatus from Miami. Seem to be doing okay. I really should give them some more bark though. Probably. Bark and leaf litter. Put that on the to-do list. just dropped the Venezuela Dalmatian. Whoops! Just gave that whole culture a bit of a toss, but that's fine. It's a heavily fossorial species, anyways. These guys are doing phenomenal, by the way. These Dalmatian Venezuela parvis, really well, really easy, cute little guys. Pygodesmidae millipedes from Malaysia are also doing very well. Should be probably towards the end of this month. I'll be putting these back on the listing, and there's someone I owe a group to. That I should be able to send now that it's warmer. So these guys, no matter what I do, they just don't seem to handle winter shipping at all. I guess if I used overnight, maybe, but I'm not going to use overnight on such an inexpensive thing. I just take them off my listing during the winter. Yeah, they're just very sensitive to cold. Kind of like how Kyle was talking about the blue pigeon, or the white pigeon, which is the same species, Cubaris. I remember him talking on the stream that they're like the most heat-sensitive isopods he's ever shipped, and he had a lot of DOAs of those during the winter. And I basically had that experience, but with the Pygodesmidae millipedes. So I don't offer those in the colder months anymore. Nothing from these. Chat thing, nothing. Can't quite tell if I failed with the Charcinura perishing again. No, I did not. They're doing good. There's names. They just hiding. Alright, good. Got the Reductoniscus tuberculatus. These guys seem to be breeding pretty well, pretty robust species. Cute little guys. I would like the Dalmatian form at some point. So those would be cool. Yeah, I do think these are actually breeding for me. They definitely seem to be multiplying. So that's cool. Nice little spiky species. What is this guy? He's pretty pale. Yeah. Neat little micro species. I wonder if anyone's having like any good long-term, anyone in the US having long-term good success with breeding any of those Lorella species, those really arboreal, spiky, skittish species. Has anyone had any luck breeding those long-term in captivity yet? I don't like to be as much of a skeptic as Kyle is on a lot of these things, because, I mean, he doesn't think people are breeding Marilynella consistently, which is dead wrong. And he doesn't, no, it was Laura May Ripple thought that people weren't breeding Ambers, Kibara species Ambers consistently, which is also dead wrong. It's clearly, they breed well for people when set up right. So I don't want to be the one saying, hey, I don't think anyone's breeding Lorella in captivity, but I feel like I haven't really seen many captive bred and born offspring of those available. Just like wild caught ones and babies from wild caught ones, which is not much better. I would be happy to be proven wrong. I just don't know. See how the Kibara species blondes are doing. I got like a brood from the new group I got from Ty, like shortly after getting them, and then they just stopped breeding again. It's like I can't win with this species. I don't understand what they want from me. I've tried keeping them warm, cool. They seem to prefer it warmer. And then I tried keeping them drier or humid, and they seem to prefer it more humid. So now I'm keeping them warm, humid, well ventilated, lots of hives, good amount of leaf litter, organically rich substrate even. I didn't even skimp out on these. I gave them a pretty good like mix of wood and black eye composted materials, leaf litter, bark thing, etc. Like a lot of a pretty organically rich substrate for me, for isopods. And they still not breathing very well. I don't know if they're just slow as hell or if again I'm doing something wrong. But yeah. It does look like maybe I see one Menka that's like small and might be from a new brood. It could just be one that's stunted. They're getting huge though, these blondes I have. They're getting really big. Just not breeding much. I don't know. Maybe they're just slow. Really slow. And I know regular rubber duckies are really slow, so I just thought the blondes were supposed to be a bit faster in terms of reproduction rates, but maybe I was wrong. Who knows? I mean, it does seem like the adults I have are healthy and doing well, and there does appear to be maybe 2 broods now, staggered growth rates, so I guess I'll just give them more time, see how they do over time. I really want to breed this species, goddammit. This is like my 3rd try with these blondes from Thai. I don't want to have to ask him for them again. I mean, correction, I will not ask him for them again. If I fail at these, I'm done trying with that particular species. Oh boy, this is always a fun container to try and open. My Paraplaneta brunea. There's a lot of them. Usually, if I toss some food in, I mean, honestly, I don't think they need much of a misting. Give them a chunk of apple and just a little something. Okay, that wasn't that bad. Silly Nighties, Big Pine Key, doing phenomenal. Absolutely great. Best of the CF Virgatus, in my opinion. I got Chocolopedius Webby Pupa. Need another freaking female, man. I have, I think, 3 freshly matured adult male Chocolopedius Webby eye, and no female. Well, I have a old female that I did pair with one of these fresh males, but I think she might be too old to produce eggs. She doesn't look like she's getting gravid. But, yeah, I need some fresh female Chocolopedius Webby eye. So I have 3 pupa now, so hopefully one of those will be a female. Yeah, those guys are super aggressive. That male that I put in with that old ass female lost 2 of his tibiae after being with her for like 24 hours. They're so aggressive. Such aggressive click beetles. Like, my god. I don't understand why they're so mean. But, whatever. Hopefully, I get some females popping up. I also really need a male. I have 3, I think, female Elaeus leschiosus right now. I really need a male to mature soon for him, because otherwise I might be in trouble. But I do have a pupa of... Okay, it's an adult now. Alright, I'm actually going to dig it up and just really hope it looks male. The problem with the leschiosis, though, is they seem to actually go through a dormancy. Like, my leschiosis females were all, like, dormant for months. And so I don't... But they pupated during the winter, so I don't know if this one that pupated, like, now will know that it's later in the year and not go through a dormancy, or if it also is going to require one. And I can't tell. Male or female. Might be male. It has smaller eye spots than the others, though. I don't know. Pretty big, though. Click beetle. But yeah, I don't know. This one kind of looks pretty similar to the females I have. Let me just get a look. Which I'm assuming these 3 that I have as adults together are female because they've not attempted hooking up with each other at all. Well, you know, yeah, I don't know. That's the problem. A lot of these Elaeus, they cannot be sexed ventrally consistently. This one does look like its end plate might be a little bit more pointed though than on the females. Maybe it is. Maybe it is a male. Huh? And you know what? The antenna do look a little bit wider. It might be a male. I think it's a male. Yeah, the antenna are way wider on this one. Okay, so there is hope. There is hope. That it is potentially an adult male. Now, I need to hope that it comes out of dormancy at a relatively fast rate. But, fast enough to mate with these females. But, okay, so that's a little promising. I might not be completely screwed with my Elaeus illusiosus. I mean, I still have some more larvae, but I don't know when they're going to pupate, and so, you know, it would be nice if I got a pair within a few months of each other. So, there's hope, there's hope. Yeah, alright, let's get these. Elaeus, by the way, like, I've had these females together for, like, a month now. And maybe one of them, they're all maybe missing, like, a tibia each. No, really just, like, one of them is missing a tibia. And that might have been damage from getting stuck on hides or something. So yeah, Elaeus play much nicer together than Chocolopedius do. Chocolopedius are absolute dicks to each other when they are housed together as adults. And Elaeus, despite being larger, are just pretty placid. Yeah. All right. So there is hope. I think maybe that one that matured is a male, and 1 male to 3 females would be a pretty phenomenal sex ratio, to be honest. So, especially with a species that's not territorial. And then I did get a pair, would look to be an adult pair of Elaeus oculatus from Allen. However, I think they're still like in their own little dormancy period, because he found them in a log, and I've not seen any mating or oviposition attempts. So I think they're still in diapause, and they're really inactive too. So, but once those come out of their dormancy, they will hopefully breed quite well. And then I'll have a locality of Elaeus from Alabama, and then I also have a northern locality from Pennsylvania. So, 2 localities of oculatus, 1 locality of lucciosus, and hopefully soon I do have Elaeus zunianus as well, the giant Arizona-eyed click beetles. And then, last but not least, hopefully I can get, I think I have 5 Elaeus patricus larvae. 3 from Allen, 2 from my own production. I'm hoping I can get those fairly synced up in growth and hopefully breed that species as well, although those are more difficult. Those are more like a Chocolopedius than they are an Elaeus. So, you know, hopefully I can breed those. But right now I'm feeding off some Aloides aspilibris to my remaining Elaeus and Chocolopedius larvae. Man, Elaeus larvae get so freaking huge. It's insane. I can't wait to see, like, these Elaeus leschiosus get huge, but Elaeus zunianus are even bigger, so their larvae are going to be titanic. Like, I'm kind of scared to see how big those are going to get. It's going to be pretty ridiculous. Should I do a, if I get to, let's say, 1,000 subscribers, should I do a live Elaeus biting me live stream? Like a 3-inch Elaeus larva just chowing down on me? Should I do that? We can get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. I'm at, like, I think I'm at like 500. I'm about 500. Maybe more. It's been a while since I checked my subscriber count, to be honest. I don't upload to this channel that often. I kind of just let it build up passively, but I might have a decent amount of subscribers already, so it might not be that long till I get 1,000. It would help if I posted more videos. Yeah, these guys look enormous though. Yeah, look at this thing. See this? You even see this, man? How big that is. It's an Elaeus leschiosus larva. About as big as the palm of my hand, like as long as the palm of my hand, essentially. Absolutely crazy how big these get. And I mean, this one's not even fully grown. It's still growing, still eating, still not pupating. So yeah. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll do a live stream where I let one of these bite down on me. If you guys are interested in seeing that. It's gonna be crazy. People want to see me get bit. I'm at 542 subs. Okay. Dang, I'm already halfway there. Spread the word. I'll let one of these bite me if I if I get to 1,000 subs. Make a big video of it. Maybe I'll let a couple different invertebrates bite me. The live stream of pain, I'll call it. Let Elaeus bite me. What else? What else do I have that would bite me? Well, the Jerusalem cricket. I'm not gonna let anything venomous bite me, first of all. That's not worth it. But Jerusalem crickets, they got a nasty bite. If some of mine get large enough to inflict a nasty enough bite, I'll let one of those go at me as well. What else? So what else do I keep that could bite me? I don't keep a lot of things that hurt. Yeah, probably honestly just the I could stick my hand in like a big old colony of hissers and get the allergic reaction from that. That hurts. I could do that. Let some Elaeus larvae bite me. A live stream of pain. I could do that. Maybe I will let like a Scolopendra bite me. And you know what I could also do? If I have any leeches ready to feed, I could just let one of those feed me on the live stream. Feed on me on the live stream as well. It doesn't hurt that bad. It does itch a lot though. That would be funny. Just a lot of meat there. Where are all the freaking Hispilibris larvae at? Wait, hold on. That guy's got the mold. It's not giving food. almost done with these freaking cook beetles. Oh, that one's molten too. Dang it. Never mind. Let's give cook beetles are done for today. Ugh, no, something that sucks. So I was trying to rewatch Kyle's live streams from the auction, but I guess his live streams cap out at like 11 hours, 55 minutes or whatever. So most of them went on longer than that, but they just abruptly cut off and you can't watch the ends of them. So I didn't get to rewatch the real Grain Pest hours on YouTube, which is kind of sad. And I wasn't able to watch it live because I was at work. So I hope that was fun though. What's this? I've seen Reddit posts of people keeping Laura species white striped spiky, and they seem to have a lot of success. Well, that's good. I hope those get more common in the hobby. Leeches of adults, are you still going to feed them on yourself? Yes, though the feedings will be a lot more sporadic. Well, when they're bigger, they don't need to eat as often, nor do they need to eat as much as, say, like a half-grown juvenile that's like actively putting effort into growing. Like a full-grown one doesn't need that much blood, but they do feed longer, I hear. So, but yeah, when they're full-grown, I'll still feed them off myself. But again, more staggered. So like I fed 2 off myself in one day. I probably would not do that with full-grown ones. You know, might even go a few weeks to like a month in between feeding them when they're bigger. But you know, they can go a really long time without food, so it's not going to be too much of an issue. I did see someone on freaking Facebook that put their hand into a tank that had like a bunch of adults in it, and they just let all the adults feed off their hand. There's like 5 full-grown buffalo leeches attached to one person's hand. It's like, my God, your hand's gonna be a little raisin after that feeding. My God, that's not a good idea. But yeah, so I'm not gonna go as crazy as that, but yeah, I will still feed them off of myself. Set and leaf. So I'm finally getting breeding action from my Kibara species rubber bee. That's cool. Found some Menka in there right now. Those guys seem to like it a bit more humid. On the humid side. You know what? Put this here. I'm gonna try this side wet. Margadia species, no, Margadia CF bisignata from Macau. So we're doing really well. Again, these guys, last time I kept them communally with my Paraceras punctatus, which are also from Macau. And they did well for a time, but eventually the Paraceras outcompeted the poor things, and I lost them. So this time I have them, I got more from Kyle, and I just have them set up in their own container. And already started getting babies from them. So yeah, definitely won't try for a communal of these again. Maybe it would have worked in a larger setup longer, but I do think eventually something as robust as Paraceras pygmaeus is probably not good to keep with a more fragile species long term. It's just asking for something to go wrong. Porcella sylvestri, these guys have started popping off and finding babies. And these, so that's cool. One of the most underrated Porcella species, in my opinion. They used to be really popular. Back in the heyday of isopod keeping, they were one of those coveted, rare Spanish Porcella species. Pretty colorful. The males are bright orange. Some of the females are too, but mostly the females are gray. Some males are gray too. So it's like almost sexually dimorphic, but not quite. But yeah, these guys are pretty neat little Spanish Porcella that's kind of fallen by the wayside again, as a lot of species have with the introduction of the Cubaris and Marylinella craze that we're going through. But a nice little species. I've kept them in the past. Glad to have them again. And yeah, pretty simple care for Porcella. These guys do seem more tolerant of drier conditions than like Bolivari or Expansus in my experience. Let's see, have these bred yet? My Cubaris species Capucino. I see no babies yet. Yeah, I mean, the adults are doing fine, but I've not gotten babies yet. So, that's lame. Where the babies at, man? I hope Brandon didn't send me an all-male group. That'd be pretty funny if he did. Or all female, but if they were all female, at least one of them would be mated. So yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe they just need more time. Should be Venezilla arizonicus from Swaharita, Arizona. These have started breeding. But that's not really saying much, because I got them as adults from Kyle, and obviously some of them were probably gravid. These are doing well, and there's a lone female Aranavaga CF erratica, Amado, Arizona, or New Mexico? I think maybe New Mexico. I don't know. Amado is the specific locality. I forget what state it's in. But, yeah, because she's unmated, and I did not have a male for her, so I just threw her in here with the Venezilla, and they don't mind her at all. I think Kyle has his main Venezilla colonies in with the Aranavaga from the same localities that he collected them from, so it made sense. Oops, I forgot to feed them. Disappear. Alright. Jesus, it's heavy. I have the Aranavaga florensis on a hot, like the top shelf, but the enclosures are just completely full of sand. It's really heavy, but I have them up there because it's warm up there, and that's probably important for their breeding. But my God, that's a workout, just putting those up and down. And this is just the Nocticola species Malaysia. Right, here we go. Right. Aranavaga, these are the Lake Placids. These are doing well. I'm expecting babies to start hatching within the next month. I mean, florensis hatch pretty freaking quickly. But I've gotten a good amount of ooths from my adult females in here. So, that I reared up. So, I'm hoping for baby Lake Placid Aranavaga florensis any day now. They are my favorite of the localities. They are huge for Aranavaga, and even bigger than the darker forms of florensis. And the Lake Placids retain their white nymph coloration all the way up to maturity. They have a little bit more black mottling on them when they are mature compared to the nymphs, but still pretty, very pretty. Here's an adult female. Probably not gonna show up well on the camera. A little bit. I mean, you can see like that. Pretty white, pretty pale. So yeah, obviously pictures, high quality pictures show that off better. I'll try to get some soon of my females. But yeah, I'm just thrilled these are finally doing well for me. This is a species I've struggled with for years, and really the only thing I was doing wrong was just keeping them on cocoa fiber. These guys are seemingly strict samophiles, and they do really require being kept on sand to do well. But like literally once you take care of that issue, they thrive. So hopefully I should be seeing captive bred and born hatchlings pretty soon. Alright. But yeah, them being kept on pure sand though does make their enclosures really heavy. Here we got the Aranavaga florensis from Tampa, which are, again, the nymphs are pale. They are white models. They look very similar to like placid nymphs, except for once they hit the subadult stage, they gain a lot darker coloration. And once they're adults, they are much darker than the Lake Placid line. The females are basically just black or reddish black all over, with cream colored borders, and then the males are much darker than Lake Placid males, and also have shorter wings. So there might be some speciation going on there. There are genetic differences between the different populations, and so it is thought that they are probably distinct species from each other. So that's really cool in and of itself. 'Cause yeah, like look at this. This is a Tampa Ernevago floridensis female. In comparison, much smaller and much darker. So yeah, definitely something going on there. But yeah, these guys have absolutely exploded for me. Granted, I started with a bunch of adult mated females from Allen's colony. So it took a lot, less time for them to explode. But I've already got adults of the next generation popping up. There are babies being continuously produced by some of these still living females that Allen sent me. Yeah, so these guys doing phenomenal. And then Allen just sent me a female and some nymphs of the Ocala line, which is also another dark line like this, but a little different. The females have no cream-colored bordering on their sides. So those, he said the female was mated, but she's laid a decent amount of oots and none have hatched yet. Kind of makes me think. And I saw her calling for a male, like she was sitting on the surface of the substrate with her butt up in the air. That's usually a sign of emitting pheromones to attract mates. So I don't know if she was mated or not, but it doesn't matter because she's still, she's a very young adult female, very healthy. And some of the nymphs Allen sent me, some of the males are already subadults, so she will be mated very soon. So whether or not she has mated does not matter. I will have babies from those very soon. Let's plop these up. And honestly, my blood sugar is feeling a little low, so I think I'm going to take a break from maintenance. I will hop back on later. I don't know if I'll stream the return or not when I do the other half of maintenance, but maybe I will. So if I do, I'll see you all later. If not, thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone that joined the stream, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.